Fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
And welcome into the Thursday edition of Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning. Hope everybody is doing well. We got a lot to get to on the program here today. Tennessee in action tonight in the Sweet 16, taking on FAU. Joe Rexrode live from New York. We'll get hot and heavy into that to begin the show here today. John Hines, Predators head coach, joining us at 7:30, and Charles Robinson for his weekly visit from 8 to 8:30. Talking all things NFL. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Have you guys ever seen the movie Airplane?
Yes.
Okay. Michelle?
You know the answer. No.
Okay. Well, Robby, you know an Airplane where it's like, he had the fish?
Yeah.
I got some real questions about some of my buddies right now because I was not the only one who got shepherd's pie last night.
Oh, boy, this could be an interesting morning in Manhattan. No question about that.
I'll keep you posted.
Oh, I hope you do.
I probably shouldn't text anybody now, right? I mean, it's 7 a.m. here, but
don't worry.
Hopefully by the end of the show, we'll have some answers.
Well, they could already be up. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
We'll see what happens. Michelle, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing better than Joe. Sorry, Joe, that you're not feeling well. But doing good. We have basketball today. I've been struggling to wait for these games. Excited for these Sweet 16 matchups tonight.
Very much looking forward to the Sweet 16 matchups tonight. Tennessee taking on FAU at Madison Square Garden. So looking forward to that. A big day for the Vols, and we got a lot to get into on that front as well, Joe. But before we get to that, the NIT last night, Vanderbilt falls to UAB in the quarterfinals of the NIT, capping a good run, especially good end of the season for the Vanderbilt Commodores. It comes to an end last night at Memorial Gym against UAB, and it was just one of those things, Joe, where it was a good back-and-forth game, and UAB makes a run late, and they win 67-59 in that game. So Vanderbilt finishes 22-15 on the season, and their run comes to an end last night in the quarterfinals of the NIT. Tough way for it to end. I really was hoping to see them get at least to the semifinals in the NIT, but the run falls short, and Vanderbilt goes down to UAB last night, 67-59.
Yeah, I mean, basically the entire game, I'm like, gosh, UAB is really good.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about UAB yesterday, and there's some relevance here, for Tennessee fans because – as we mentioned, and I'm trying to find the scores again right now, they split. UAB and Florida Atlantic split this year. UAB actually scored more points. It was a close loss and a little bit more margin of the victory. But think about Vanderbilt and Tennessee at the SEC tournament. And of course, it's about matchups, right? I mean, teams match up differently and have different strengths and weaknesses. But you think about the SEC tournament, I would argue that the better basketball team at that point in that building in our city was Vanderbilt, not Tennessee.
Yep.
And, you look at what UAB just did on Vanderbilt's home floor, very motivated Vanderbilt team, appeared to be a pretty good crowd. The students have been coming out, and UAB went in there. And so point being, this should be a little reminder, like Tennessee's playing a really good basketball team tonight. Don't be fooled because it's not a brand name or they don't have, superstar, sure thing NBA players. It's a really good basketball team. And like that UAB team that I watched last night, just like Vanderbilt, like, man, if that team was in this tournament, the team could have done some damage.
Yeah, no question about that, and that's certainly relevant for tonight's game for Tennessee against FAU. Joe, your final thoughts on Vanderbilt, the season, the run that Jerry Stackhouse and that crew were able to make, and what this could mean for Vanderbilt basketball as they move forward now.
We have a text thread with a lot of us at the station. And at one point, Michelle's like, they bring these guys back in the top 25 class, and I was like, they don't have a top 25 class. Like rivals.
Got the receipts.
You did. You put the receipts on me right there. Now I usually look like rivals, and I guess On Three is now replaced. I don't know, but regardless, it's a pretty good class, and Isaiah West is a player I know a lot of people are excited about coming in. If Lawrence is back and Magnon is back, by the way, UAB did a job on Magnon last night that we haven't seen in a long time, but that could be. I mean, you could argue that's as dynamic a backcourt as will return or will show up in the SEC next year. And then if Lee Dort gets in shape again, it's like, is anybody getting to the portal that they care about? I don't know. It's the re-recruiting process starts. But if it goes well and they don't lose anyone unexpected, then I think you could be talking about a fringe top 25 kind of team next year, and a team that I don't think would have to be on the bubble like they've been the last. Well, really, they weren't on the bubble two years ago, or last year, but they were this year. So that's possible. Now, it still also comes down to early season. We see the pattern is that they're just way, way better late, and they're not very good early. And that is something that, I think Jerry Stackhouse has to work on. But I think the future looks pretty good right now.
Well, and like you said, they've got to start the season off way better next year, and you can't have those lulls to begin the season that put you in a hole. But I mean, look, if they play the way to begin next year that they played at the end of this year, they're going to be fine. They'll be an NCAA tournament team, and they'll get in the tournament for the first time under Jerry Stackhouse. I have no doubt about that. But you have to find a way to do that. Like, you have to find a way to make sure that you're coming out of the gate strong, and you can't have some of these bad losses like they had this year. So we'll see what that looks like for Vanderbilt. But I will say, like, I do think the feeling for Vanderbilt fans is a little bit different heading into this offseason than it was this past offseason with the way that they closed out the season. And we'll see if Vanderbilt can capitalize on that and if they can build on that momentum heading into next year. So now we turn our attention to Tennessee and their matchup tonight against FAU. 8 o'clock local start here tonight for Tennessee. So a little bit of a later start tonight, but taking on FAU at Madison Square Garden. Joe, as you mentioned, FAU's won 33 games this year. They're a really good team. I mean, they're obviously, name brand wise, nobody's going to get all that fired up about, it's FAU. It's a basketball powerhouse out there. But this is a good team Tennessee's taking on tonight in the Sweet 16. And really, the most intriguing part of this to me is what sort of mentality is Tennessee going to come out with tonight? Is it going to be a similar mentality of the chip on the shoulder and everything that we've talked about the last couple of days that led to them being successful over Duke? Or now that they've gotten to the Sweet 16 and the roles are reversed a little bit and they're the favorite in this game against FAU, although not everybody's picking them. I saw some people yesterday taking FAU in this game. Will that pressure get to them? Will we see one of those stretches where there's 6, 7, 8 minutes that go by where they're just getting nothing done offensively? I'm really interested to see what version of Tennessee we see tonight, not only from just an execution standpoint and whether or not they can make shots, but mainly from a mentality standpoint and whether or not they can find a way to manufacture some of that and carry it over from the Duke game last week.
Yeah, well, certainly it's a different mindset without question. And they've got to. I think the intensity will be there. Like I think they'll come out and they'll guard. I mean, they've been guarding, doing those things pretty consistently, and that hasn't really dropped off a ton. Now, though, you look at the Missouri game, and they had troubles, especially late. But that, the thing is, if you run into an opponent that's going to hit every three they take, then you're going to have troubles. And this team has 7 guys who have hit at least 33s, and 4 guys who are basically 50 or more, and they shoot 36.7% as a team. And that is the type of team. They come out hitting some threes early and get a little lead, and you come out and you're cold. And by the way, it's been a lot of talk this week about the new Wilson balls that they're using for the tournament. And it is, it's funny because I think it was the Virginia Furman game last week, a basketball came over to the sideline, which a wonderful picture of me that came along with that.
Love the photo.
It did seem like a way over pumped rubber ball. Like, it was weird. And
it's like fluorescent orange too. It's quite the color on it too.
Yeah, it looks fake. It looks like one of the cheap balls, like you're out on the playground and then you're about to start a game and it's like, okay, well, we get rid of that one. That's a crappy cheap rubber ball. You'll get that one out of here. So anyway, shooting has been bad across the board, but I mean, it could be that simple. It could be as simple as you can get better shots than your opponent, which is really how you judge as a coach, like your game plan and just how you played, and they can drop a bunch of threes on you. and you can lose. I mean, I still, as much as I like Kansas State, I still think that Kentucky can hang on to just, 2 bombs in a row that just flipped the score,
Antonio Reeves just the ball. It was the ball. So that'll be my excuse moving forward. It was the ball.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's good. I like that.
I mean,
here we go.
It is weird how horribly he shot. I think some people probably did struggle with this thing.
He's actually shooting with a bowling ball out there. Yes.
Yeah, but no, it's the type of team that just because they have all those shooters, and John L. Davis is a guy who has been their 6th man for a lot of the year. He's their leading scorer, but he is crafty, around just around the hoop, driving. I mean, he's a really good player. And I don't think Tennessee's going to have like a big matchup problem with anyone, which is huge. They shouldn't have to be in rotation a bunch, which means, it's going to end up a wide open corner 3, someone has to help off the corner. If that does happen, well, then I think they could absolutely be in trouble tonight.
Well, the bottom line is you've got an opportunity to advance to the 2nd Elite 8 in program history tonight if you're Tennessee. And the bracket has opened up in a way that could be advantageous for you. We've talked about that with Purdue going down. FAU's in there, so the path is there for Tennessee, and now we'll see if they can take advantage of it. But what an opportunity for Rick Barnes and the Vols tonight to advance to their 2nd Elite 8 in the history of the Tennessee basketball program, and we'll see whether or not they can take advantage of it. 615-737-1025. What do you make of the Vols, the game tonight against FAU, and the opportunity that is now in front of Rick Barnes in this Tennessee basketball program? We'll continue that conversation coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi.
Who's this?
Buzz. He appears whenever you eat Honey Nut Cheerios.
Like a genie?
Sure.
Ooh, does he grant wishes? I wish I lived in a giant boot. No, I wish I could swim with a humpback whale. No.
I can grant you a delicious bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios, which can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
Ooh, with heart shapes, too.
Happy heart-shaped Cheerios are back for a limited time. Pick up a box of Honey Nut Cheerios at your local store for an easy, delicious, and heart-healthy start to your day.
Wendy's 2 for $6 lets you mix and match some of our best items, like Dave Single with a 10-piece crispy nugs, medium strawberry lemonade with a spicy chicken sandwich, spicy chicken with a Dave Single with a strawberry lemonade, strawberry lemonade, if you're into that. Chicken Sam, crispy nugs, strawberry lemonade, Dave's, nugs, Sam. Whew. Pick what you want at a price you want. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's 2 for $6. For limited time, price participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's. On the card only. Single item at regular price.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Susan has always wanted to live in a chateau.
I like a certain je ne sais quoi.
While Jake is more into the Cape Cod style home.
It's a classic look.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they can save even more. In the end, Susan and Jake found a Cape Cod style home where they will only speak French.
Bonjour, je t'aime, merci beaucoup, and cordon bleu.
You'll get better with time.
Bundling without compromise at geico.com.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel.
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
It's 40 love here in the third set.
And there's the bell. She's coming off the bench hot, looking for a quick knockdown. But wait, she's driving to the hoop. Oh, down goes the champ.
Now that's another double fault. She'll be shooting too. The serve is up, and here comes the left hook. She's bundled her home and auto insurance with Progressive. Swish, ace, savings, TKO.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 1025 The Game studio. Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezvik here with you. Tennessee taking on FAU tonight. An opportunity for the Vols to advance to the Elite Eight for the second time in program history. And, Joe, I look at this matchup, and we had Grant Ramey on a couple of days ago from VolQuest.com. And one person we talked a whole lot about was Olivier Kamwa, obviously based off the game that he had last time out. 27 points, 10 of 13 from the field against Duke. Now, I don't know that I expect quite like that. Again, numbers quite like that, 27 points and 10 of 13 from the field. But if he can continue to play the way that he's been playing lately and get consistent offense from him, that would be a big jump from the Vols here. And, look, he was a monster in that game against Duke. And we've seen this before, Joe. Sometimes guys just start feeling it in the tournament, and they get hot, and they're able to ride that wave throughout the tournament. I don't know whether or not, Olivier Kamwa is going to be able to do something like that, but I'm really intrigued to see how he responds after playing arguably, I don't even know if it's arguable, the best game of his career last time out against Duke. First mute of the day for Rexrode.
First of many to come.
Yes.
Yeah, he had the huge Texas game. He's had other huge games, and it's not like he, has had it's kind of random. He's not a guy who's guaranteed to get a bunch of shots.
No.
But, yeah, Duke went zone, and they were so worried about Vescovy, and I get it. They were shading everything toward him, and so who can fill the middle of that zone? And, look, like a guy like Adu can make a shot here or there too. I mean, there are other guys who could fill in there, but he's the ideal guy. And so we'll see what his opportunities are, but maybe it is a confidence boost going into this game that he can – because, here and there he will have a look at a shot and he'll hesitate. And to me, for this team, if it's an early, not great shot, that's one thing. But think of all the possessions that this team has, that will go down to the end, and they're struggling to get a great look. I mean, he's got to be aggressive. So, he's guaranteed just about to have a big drop off from the last game. But if they can get 10, 12 from him, get 6, 7 rebounds from him, he plays good defense, and that's what they need. But that's another guy who, in a pinch, maybe that last game, gives him more confidence in a big moment to hit a big shot.
Joe, a lot of Tennessee fans worried heading into this game tonight that the officials are going to be blowing the whistle pretty early in this game and trying to establish a tone there and prevent, I guess, the physicality or the dirtiness or the Australian rugby rules football that's out there from going on early in this game. Tennessee fans, we've talked about the narrative that's been out there from Tennessee after they took down Duke. What do you make of that and the officiating in this game and the storyline around Tennessee as they prepare to take on FAU tonight?
Yeah, well, first of all, Dusty May kind of played it off yesterday, like the stuff he said about Australian rugby. He did. Yeah. I mean, he's right when he says he should have said Australian rules football. He kind of got things twisted.
He did. It's an unfortunate mistake that we'll have to look past.
Yeah, but I don't think. I think it's absolutely if you can get a little, if you can get a little official getting in their minds a little bit. And the thing is, that's the funny thing. He's like it's not. He hadn't even seen the game, but he had just heard people about the wrestling match against Duke. So he threw it out there. And then yesterday, one of their players says Tennessee is I guess, a little dirty. Can be dirty at times. I'll find who that was. So they're leaning into it, and yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's like, I mean, not all year long, I have not thought, my God, these Vols are just bullies. Oh, jeez, man, how did they get away with this? I mean, that's not. They play great defense. I mean, do they bump cutters? Yes. If you watch the Tennessee Duke game, the Duke was bumping the heck out of Tennessee's cutters too. And they're also a big, physical team that plays defense like that. So, what you don't want is to get the little hand checks that will get you in foul trouble, individually. But like the idea that there's this grinding, like smash into each other's style that Tennessee has to play tonight to have success is silly. You just don't want to have a key player in foul trouble. And yeah, it was Vladislav Golden, who, by the way, 7'1", 240, averages 10.5 a game. He's a good player. I mean, this is not just guards shooting. This dude can ball. And so this is a Knoxville TV, Karthik Venkataraman, who, and I don't, let me see if I can get the station. But anyway, the quote is, quote, "They can play dirty sometimes," is what I've seen. So we just have to stay focused and play through everything and don't pay attention to any outside factors. So the word dirty was used by Fort Atlantic. So yeah, it's a thing going tonight. I mean, look, does Plavsic immediately get called for something, like trying to deny position or
pick somebody up and puts them into the 5th row at Madison Square Garden? Maybe. We'll see. Set the tone.
Thing. If you're going to be called anyway, get your money's worth, right? So,
exactly. But you know how this is going to work. Like if there's a ticky-tack call on Tennessee within like the first minute of the game, Vol Twitter's going to explode. It's going to be like, okay, here we go. Here it comes. It's going to be a long night out there with the refs tonight. They're going to call everything.
Yes, exactly. But again, it's like all that matters. The funny thing is about last game, Plavsic gets those 2 fouls, but it was Jeremy Roach. He was the biggest storyline of foul trouble in the game, and seriously, 2 of those calls were it was, just little hand checks. And we were sitting there when they called those early ones, and it's like, so they're not calling this, but they're calling, okay, fine, which happens too often in games. And then, of course, again, that crew better not be working this weekend after deciding, let's give that one to Proctor. We all saw that Jeremy Roach committed his 5th foul. Let's go ahead and give that to Proctor. It wasn't a great officiated game, so you just got to be consistent. I mean, whatever the standard is, set it. The Vols don't have to play this. The Vols can stay in front of people. I think that's what people are missing here. It's like this idea that, they just have to, like it just has to be sumo wrestling. It's like they stay in front of people. I mean, they communicate, they switch, they're long, they block shots. Like this is not just, having to be physical. So as long as the officials set a consistent standard, then I don't think that'll be a big factor tonight.
Michael on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says it was FAU's big man that said that. Have fun going against Plavsic after saying something like that. This from Michael on the text line. I'm interested to see how he comes out of the gate tonight. It's gonna be fascinating.
Oh, I'm in on that one. So you got, let's see, Plavsic is 7'1", 265, and he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
Golden, who is who's Russian, he is 7'1", 240. And obviously he must be younger. He was actually formerly at Texas Tech, so a pretty significant recruit. They don't list I hate these official sites. They don't list ages, but anyway, a little younger. So Plavsic's got about 25 pounds and at least a couple of years, probably about 3-4 years on him. So it will be interesting. But Golden is very skilled, and that's the thing. I mean, he's a guy who plays around the basket, gets rebounds. He's got 44 block shots, so that's not bad. Yeah, he is not taking a 3, so it is a post situation with those 2.
Joe, we'll get back into this a little bit later in the show, but your biggest keys to victory for Tennessee tonight as they try to advance to the Elite 8 for the second time in program history.
Number one is turnovers. And I know it's boring. And it's almost like one of those things that for a football game, you just automatically say whoever wins a turnover battle. But it's not. It's just their turnovers. That's the thing. I mean, the biggest thing about the Duke game that it wasn't talked about enough because of the D and all this stuff and the blood. And is that they play that Louisiana game, and I swear you take about 9 minutes of that game, it is the worst freaking offensive basketball team I've ever seen. It was brutal. Awful. Like they're just throwing it at each other's feet and throwing it out of bounds. And I wasn't looking. And like, who the heck? What is going on? And they had I know. Like Jemai Mashak was telling me about the film session, and he said, yeah, like Rick Barnes was going off in this film session as they went through each turnover. Well, in that game, all of a sudden it's like they just made simple passes. Just make sure that this possession ends with a shot. If you miss it and you miss all night and you lose, fine. But make sure this possession ends with a shot. And I think they had 9 in the whole game. That is a fantastic number. If they can keep it, around 10, 12 at the most, I mean, that's where you want to live. So that's my number one thing. Just get shots. Because I think that if they do, then I think they're going to be in good shape. And then defensively, it's really just like give up twos if you have to. You have to chase them off the line. Because that's just how a team like this, again, FAU is good. They're good enough to beat Tennessee, okay? But they're really good enough if you let them get cooking from outside. Elijah Martin, 65 threes, 36%. Nick Boyd, 61 threes, 40%. Brian Greenlee, 49 threes, 39%. They got shooters all over the floor. Chase them off the line. If you give up a layup here and there, you protect the rim with Adu or Kamwa or whatever and live with it at times. Those would be my 2 things.
We'll get back into the Vols coming up a little bit later in the show. A big showdown tonight at Madison Square Garden against FAU with an opportunity to advance to the Elite Eight. We'll have more on that coming up throughout the show here today. Coming up next, some moves made yesterday in the NFL, including a former Tennessee Titan on the move as well. We'll get into all of that. But let me tell you about my friends at the Nashville Predators. Season tickets for the Preds 2023-24 season are on sale now. The Preds will be celebrating their 25th anniversary throughout next season. Full, half, and quarter season plans are available, and you can join the Loyal Legion today and receive the best seat locations at the best pricing, up to 50% off discounts on concessions throughout the season, and up to 6 bonus tickets to select games in the 2023-24 season as well. Plus, big times this summer, priority access to the 2023 NHL Draft and awards hosted here in Nashville. You can learn more at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. Once again, that's NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes!
Tune in to Robby and Rexrode every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yost.
Matt Duchesne. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Preds Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Join the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce April 3rd through 6th for an exclusive look into what makes Nashville the IT city. Whether you're new to town or a Nashville native, Intro Nashville gives you the opportunity to become engaged and connected to our city's community. During this multi-day immersive program, you'll hear from over 20 community leaders and industry experts whose storytelling unlocks a comprehensive view of our city and region. Gain historical and economic perspective on Nashville while establishing relationships with local business leaders. Register now at intronash.com. Social Furniture's Spring Home Makeover Sales event is going on now with the latest styles and colors in stock, ready for immediate delivery and setup. If you don't need a fancy schmancy showroom or the stress of a high-pressure sales team, but you don't want to pay high-quality prices, come to Social Furniture. All top-quality furniture and mattresses are on sale now. Don't miss this Extreme Home Makeover Sales event that's going on now at Social Furniture.
I shop at Social Furniture because of the way I'm treated.
That's Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Susan has always wanted to live in a chateau.
I like a certain je ne sais quoi.
While Jake is more into the Cape Cod style home.
It's a classic look.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Susan and Jake found a Cape Cod style home where they will only speak French.
Bonjour, je t'aime, merci beaucoup, and cordon bleu.
You'll get better with time.
Bundling without compromise at Geico.com.
Take your first shot at hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/play and make every moment more with FanDuel,
21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, and Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KESGamblingHelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia.
The Hoop Collective Podcast.
I'm at our ESPN LA studios. You may remember that Bev did a couple of days of work for ESPN last year.
No, I remember. I was on with him.
He left a gorgeous Dolce & Gabbana suit here that is just spectacular.
You should wear it on TV today, Brian.
I do not believe it will fit me, only because the arms are too long. You're across the street. Come over and get it. It's got to be at least a $7,000 suit.
The Hoop Collective Podcast. Listen on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robby and Rexrode 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey, it's Nashville. This is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Preds fans, hang out tonight before the Preds game at the Superbook Lounge and Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville on Broadway with 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can place your bets with Superbook and enjoy great food and drink specials, plus enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Preds back in action tonight, taking on the Seattle Kraken. We'll be joined by Predators head coach John Hines at 7:30. So looking forward to that. Right now, taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025. And Joe, a move that we anticipated happening was made official yesterday. Jordan Schultz of The Score reporting that Austin Hooper signs a one-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. So we knew that he had visited the Raiders a couple of days ago, and now it is official. Austin Hooper not coming back to the Titans. He has signed a one-year deal with the Raiders. So Hooper out the door. Obviously, that leaves a hole at tight end for the Titans to fill with him gone. What do you make of Hooper, his decision to sign with the Raiders, and where that now leaves the Tennessee Titans in the tight end room? Mute number 2.
He can't find the Zoom. Nope, you're still muted.
To be fair on this one, my computer froze.
Oh, okay, there we go.
I could not click back to the Zoom. So that's hopefully not a sign of things to come. Yeah, well, I think it makes sense for Austin Hooper, and it's not a huge loss, but it does just bring up the question, what's the tight end room look like? You don't want to put everything on Chigakonkwo. I think you need another good. Certainly, you need a good couple of inline tight ends, but you need at least one of them to also have, to me, receiving. But just because Chigakonkwo has emerged here doesn't mean that you don't need more at that position that can be some kind of production downfield, especially given your receiver situation. So I do think Swaim has a likelihood of coming back, but who else? I think the draft is a good draft for tight ends. So that's probably where it's going to get addressed. But is there anybody else out there that they could look at?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. Look, Cameron Brate is out there and is available. You've got Jeff Swaim out there, obviously. Mercedes Lewis. I'm sure that Aaron Rodgers is trying to drag him to New York with him, so we'll see what happens on that front. But, I mean,
hands off.
Other than that, there's not a ton out there. I mean, hey, I will say, Anthony Ferkser is out there and available. I'm just throwing it out there. So is Michael Pruitt. So you can go right back down that rabbit hole if you want to.
Yeah, well, of those two, I mean, Ferkser is a total no, because he doesn't fit what they need. But honestly, Pruitt could, It's just that, I think in general, you just want to get younger. You want to be younger, and you want to. And so even like this year, and this is what you see a lot. Like we always talk about the draft and how many picks you have, but like this is a position where at least 2 guys will come in as undrafted guys, right? And they'll try to find. It's like the kid they found from Kansas State. They didn't have to draft him. He's a very good player at K-State. His name eludes me right now.
Bradley Moore.
And then he tears his ACL. Like I don't know if like if he hadn't had that injury that year, well, what would that have meant? I don't know. Maybe nothing. But he was at least kind of an intriguing, kind of a prospect. And that's so they're to me, it's like, just get younger and more athletic across the board. So I think that does have to be a draft pick somewhere, at least middle of the draft, if possible.
Well, I mean, like from Hooper's standpoint, I'm interested to see how productive he is there. I mean, we know this. We talked about it yesterday. He was really good in camp. Didn't go so well the first half of the season, and then he started to settle in and come on as the year went on last year with the Titans. Now going to Vegas with Garoppolo coming in. You have Devontae Adams out wide. You got Hunter Renfrow out there. We'll see, the Josh Jacobs situation with him being tagged. You got pretty good weapons on that offense. I'm interested to see what that looks like and whether or not, Hooper can go in and be productive from the jump. Now, look, to me, like the days of the Atlanta version of Austin Hooper, I think have long since passed. Like the idea that he's just going to all of a sudden go back to that, I can't get behind. But I do think he turned into a very useful player for the Titans at the end of last year, and I'm interested to see what that looks like in Vegas.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, Joshua Dobbs made some big plays with him, and he came right in, and it happened. So, he's a decent player at this point. So, and then of course, everybody we talk about, then a couple hours later, they sign with a different team.
It's unbelievable.
So, McCall Hardman, he gets $6.5 million. Is that right?
Up to, I think, yeah. So I don't know what the actual number is, but yeah, I think up to, just over $6 million. McCall Hardman signing with the New York Jets yesterday. So we talked about it. Would that be a good fit for the Titans? And didn't look like he was going to end up back in Kansas City. And then all of a sudden he signs with the New York Jets. And in order to make that work, the Jets traded Elijah Moore to the Browns and basically swapped a couple of draft picks as well. So they get they send a second-round pick back to the Jets. Cleveland does. And the Jets send their third-round pick for this year and Elijah Moore to Cleveland. So another weapon for Deshaun Watson in that Cleveland offense with Elijah Moore going to the Browns. But McCall Hardman to the Jets, and they get back a second-round pick as well. So creating some room for when and if Aaron Rodgers ever actually gets cleared to go there and the trade goes through at some point.
Yeah. McCall Hardman, get ready to learn some hand signals, buddy. It's good to see them not just lean on, Jordy Nelson and company. That's good.
I mean, well, there's that too. I mean, Donald Driver. So I don't know what he's doing nowadays, but maybe a guy that you could find there. In all seriousness, though, like with Hardman, like if you're not productive here, it's like, okay, well, you had Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, and you couldn't really do anything with those two things. All right, what are we doing here? Like he should have a good opportunity if that trade ever goes through. To show what he can do out there with the other weapons that they have at their disposal.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a charmed quarterback life for him for sure. I'm sure he'd like a bigger role, and maybe he'll have that in that offense, with that team. I feel like the Jets, it is to me a little bit more of a run-based scheme, especially when Breece Hall's healthy. So I don't know about McCall Hardman's blocking. We didn't really talk enough about that when we talked about him with the Titans, but we'll find out.
Lance on the text line says Hooper was tied for 98th in receptions, and 96th in yards and couldn't block. It's not a huge loss. Uncle Fingus on the text line says, can you guys please stop mentioning Swaim? Every tight end out there is better than him. Are you trying to ruin my day? This from Uncle Fingus on the text line.
Sorry, Swaders. Not stopping. In fact, I'm going to make sure to have. I think we should have a Swaim segment every day. A Swagment.
Oh, nice.
Until he signs, and I might do one of those things where you have a hunger strike. You sit on top of a building until Jeff Swaim signs. By the way, a hunger strike is probably a good idea for me right now.
It could be.
So yeah, sorry, dude. I mean, the more you get mad, the more likely I'm going to talk about it.
It's amazing the feelings on Jeff Swaim out there. As far as Lance's point with Hooper, look, I'm not acting like Austin Hooper is like some giant loss for the Titans. I thought it would have been nice to see him come back. I thought he fit in well as the year went on, but it's not like he's some irreplaceable loss. I recognize that. Now, the other thing I would say about that is I don't know that just going purely by the stats is how I would judge Titans players on that offense last year. They couldn't block anybody.
Well, and again, that overall number is tied to really just invisibility for a half a season. And then it did get a lot better. So, yeah, it's not some huge loss, but there's still something to be said for someone who has demonstrated that they can play in this league, and it's not like it's some breaking the bank situation to have him. So, I mean, you especially at tight end, rookies can definitely take a long time. I think Chig last year was, it was overall a very good rookie, very encouraging rookie season, but that position is not easy to come right in and play, even if you were a star in college.
No question about it. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, it's time for the best and worst things in sports for this week. We'll take your submissions on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. That's up next, but first, Michelle Knezovic has a word from our friends at Superbook Sportsbook.
Yes, I do. Thanks, Robby. Listen, I've been waiting for these games all week. Sweet 16 games are finally tonight. The tournament is finally back in action, and that's why 2023 should be the year when you beat Vegas. I'm going to give you a couple games. I think that you should parlay them, get a little bit more value, a little bit more bang for your buck. Okay, looking at the games in Madison Square Garden, we got Michigan State, Kansas State. Michigan State is a 1.5-point favorite. I'm taking K-State plus the 1.5. Also going to take them on the money line, plus 105. We've got Arkansas and UConn. I know everybody's loving UConn, but Eric Musselman and this Arkansas team, he's been very, very successful in the last couple of years taking his team to the Elite Eight. So I'm taking Arkansas plus the 4. Also going to take them plus 170 on the money line. And last but not least, Florida Atlantic and Tennessee. Tennessee a 5.5-point favorite. I am taking Florida Atlantic plus the 5.5. Not telling you who I'm taking on the money line there. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every single week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. There's no fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So listen, download the Superbook Sportsbook app, place that parlay bet I just gave you, or visit superbook.com and you can start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from Titleist. Check out the new Pro V1 golf balls, designed for longer distance, more consistency, and unrivaled control. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and elevate your game with the new TSR Woods, engineered faster, longer, and straighter. Come in and get custom fit for free today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, unmatched service, unmatched expertise.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
2 seconds left on the clock, third field goal range, and it looks like he's going to go with a 5-iron. No, wait. The quarterback is skating back on the ice. He's talking with his caddy. They're pulling the goalie. He skates off the fairway as the kicker lines up his putt. It's a breakaway. They bundled their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Touchdown savings birdie goal.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company.
You've got real talent.
With Jared Stillman, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. The best and worst of the sports week. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time of the week, time for the best and worst things in sports here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your submissions, your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We were kind of all over the place last week for our best and worst things in sports. We had a lot of different sports and thoughts on our text line, so we appreciate that. We'll take your thoughts again, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, would you like to kick us off this week with your best and worst things in the world of sports as we sit here on the day of the Sweet 16 beginning in the NCAA tournament?
Sure, and I will stick with that theme. Best thing in sports, I mean, I guess this is a little bit, this one is, just happenstance, got lucky, but being able to be press row courtside for Furman, Virginia was pretty freaking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And just that game was the best game of the first weekend. There were a lot of good games, but that one was, it was a great game, an incredible finish. Also, man, you had to feel for the Virginia kids. But that's my best. My worst, well, I have an honorable mention. Worst is me yesterday crying and complaining about being tired this week. That was that's a second. You get to New York and you're like, oh yeah, that's like injected into your veins. But my real worst is Matt Painter in Purdue. Matt Painter is a heck of a coach, and he is absolutely one of the good people in college sports. You won't find anybody who will say anything different. But I do get a little bothered sometimes when something like Purdue losing to Fairleigh Dickinson happens, and this is even with some coworkers of mine. It's like the college basketball, specific media. Like it's sort of like, it's almost like shaming people who rip him, for losing that game, because it's like, it's like, what, you guys just start watching the tournament now? And I really have a problem with that, because, you know what, this is how you're judged. This is where you're judged, and performance in this tournament, it's paramount.
Yep.
And so the idea, like, he deserves to be ripped for that game. I mean, and the fact that they've lost to double-digit seeds 3 years in a row and have never been to a Final Four, yeah, that's not just like some random occurrence here and there. That's a problem. So you know what? It's okay sometimes when someone has a failure like that to go ahead and let it rip. It's a bad job by him last weekend and a terrible loss. And yeah, some of it may be bitterness about my bracket.
I think there could be some of that. By the way, back on the Virginia Furman front, I'm just glad that you were able to stay out of like Kevin Harlan's range there as he was going nuts. There's a nice video that's come out that's like focused in on Kevin Harlan and Stan Van Gundy there, and it's pretty awesome. Like, he just went absolutely crazy.
I'll have to check that out.
Deservedly so. It was a crazy call, no question about it. Michelle Knezovic, your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Well, sticking with the theme of college basketball and Fairleigh Dickinson, so their head coach, Tobin Anderson, a lot of people know him, as the Fairleigh Dickinson coach who just beat Purdue in the tournament. But a little backstory, he's been in the coaching world for a very long time. was successful at the D2, D3 level, was an assistant coach in Siena, kind of up near where I'm from, upstate New York. This is actually his first full season as the head coach at Fairleigh Dickinson. You know, he recruited. They don't win their conference tournament, but they get the opportunity to play in this tournament. I think they had a play-in game too, so they won the play-in game, and then they go ahead and beat Purdue, and now he's going to be the head coach of Iona. Having a brother who works in college basketball and kind of hearing from him the ins and the outs of, you know, how hard it is. You can be in the industry for so long, D2, D3, JUCO, and how hard it actually is to break through to that next level. And here's a guy like Tobin Anderson who, you know, shocks the world. Like, we talk about the players, the opportunity, but also for the coaches too, right? We talk about the players playing on the biggest stage of their careers. Well, the coaches are also coaching on the biggest stages of their careers. And it's pretty awesome to see firsthand him finally get his opportunity late in his career to get a great job at Iona. So really, really just cool. This tournament is so special in so many ways, but I think sometimes, you know, we don't talk about too how we can see coaches, you know, take that next step up in their career as well. So that's going to be my best in sports this week. My worst in sports, which they're kind of tied together, is the coach leaving Iona. Rick Pitino is going to be the new St. John's coach. And actually, Robby and I were listening to this audio this morning. This is the first time I heard it. I guess in his opening press conference, he went on to say, you know, a lot of these players that are here are just not going to fit and most likely won't be there. Which that is fine if you're going to say, you know, going to come in, going to evaluate it, whatever. Like, this isn't professional sports. These are still kids and young athletes, you know, going to school there. But basically his press conference is not just one comment, but he goes on and on and on to say how basically a lot of these kids on the team right now are not going to fit. And it was like 4 or 5 comments. He just keeps going on and on. It's like, okay, dude, we get it. You're going in, you're making it your program. Like, we get it, but he just irks me. Everything he's done, I get it. He's one of the best college basketball coaches ever, but in sports sometimes it's like moral stuff, throw it out the window. Who cares? You win. So just irked me this morning.
He's insufferable.
Those Kentucky head coaches, I swear.
No, he is on a whole. He is just on another level of awful.
All right, my best thing in sports. The ending of the World Baseball Classic the other night, coming down to Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. Now, look, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I didn't watch a whole lot of the World Baseball Classic. It wasn't really on my radar. There's, you know, Stanley Cup playoff race going on, the NCAA tournament's going on, NFL free agency. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. So, for the most part, I was not tuned in to the World Baseball Classic over the past couple of weeks. I did turn over and watch the last couple of innings the other night between the USA and Japan. And it coming down to Ohtani versus Trout was pretty darn cool. And you're talking about 2 all-time great players there. Like, we've never seen anything like Shohei Ohtani before in our life. Like, he throws 102 miles an hour. He's a really good pitcher, and he can absolutely mash the ball on the other side of things too. And he struck out Mike Trout to end the World Baseball Classic. Now, obviously, as an American, that didn't make me very happy. I would have enjoyed watching Team USA win the game. But to watch the ending of that game come down to those 2, Ohtani versus Trout, was really, really cool. And I thought it was really good for baseball. Got a lot of people that don't normally watch baseball tuned in for that. You know, Connor McDavid yesterday was talking about in Edmonton how hockey needs something like that. And they've been trying to get it for 10 years. And everybody's talking about baseball today. Hockey needs something similar. I would agree. So I thought Ohtani versus Trout was really cool the other night to end the World Baseball Classic. My worst thing in sports, and it's not really an actual worst thing, it's just me complaining. Tonight could have been Tennessee-Memphis for a spot in the Elite Eight, and I really want it. Little Penny Hardaway versus Rick Barnes. It was right there. Memphis had FAU beat, and then they didn't have FAU beat, and then there was a horrendous jump ball call in that game that I really didn't enjoy, and we could be seeing Tennessee-Memphis tonight at Madison Square Garden. Look, I'm excited for Tennessee-FAU. I think it's going to be a really good game. We'll see what happens and how the Vols respond, but Tennessee-Memphis would have been pretty spicy out there at Rexrode, and I would have enjoyed to see it.
And Michigan State, Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there would have been a lot more juice for that game for sure. Yeah. Like, people are going to be, I think, surprised when they watch FAU play and realize how good they are. But But yeah, that would be amazing in this city right now. And I do, Michigan State, Kansas State, Noel, just because Marquise Noel was so amazing against Kentucky. I mean, I hadn't watched that much of them. I'm excited for that. I mean, yesterday he said, I determine the outcome of the game. In his press card, like, no, I decide.
He's a beast.
What happens in it. So that's going to be fun. But still, yeah, Michigan State, Kentucky rematch. Balls Memphis. Balls Purdue.
Sad.
There are other combinations that would have been more exciting.
I'm just saying. I mean, the Tennessee-Memphis part of it was right there on the table. You think what's your gut feeling in the Michigan State-Kansas State game tonight?
I think Kansas State, Michigan State does have good guards defensively, but I just think Kansas State's a little more talented. And again, this is where Izzo, the edge is a little bit diminished with him in this tournament in the Sweet 16. His record in the Elite Eight's amazing. Second round's amazing. But I think K-State's got a little bit too much talent for them. I have seen a lot of Sparties walking around town. So I don't know, but I think there's going to be a lot of Vols fans here tonight too. Those two fan bases will probably be dominant in the building.
This has been the best and worst things in sports. You can check it out every Thursday morning at 6:45 here on the program. Coming up next, we'll get back into the Titans, including some interesting comments from David Long Jr. on Mike Vrabel. We'll get into all that coming up next as well. Make sure you check out this week's Nashville's Best Deal of the Week. It's Eastside Bowl in Madison. This week, get 2 hours of bowling plus shoe rentals for up to 6 people for just $45. That's 2 full hours of bowling plus shoes for up to 6 people for just $45 at Eastside Bowl in Madison. You can go to theGameNashville.com/deals to get yours now. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Blown out in one game against a team that's just flat out better than you.
And your source for Nashville sports.
How many needs are you going to create for yourself this offseason?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The choice is yours. Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to JarrettFire.com. JARRETT Fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage? You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Mobil 1 can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $38.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Your Game Center update.
I'm Michelle Knesvik. The Vanderbilt Commodores' run in the NIT has come to an end. UAB defeated the Doors 67-59 in Memorial last night and will advance to the semifinals in Las Vegas. Jordan Wright led the Doors with 15 points and 8 rebounds. And after the game, Jerry Stackhouse spoke on the loss and the season as a whole.
I think you deal with things throughout the year. I mean, but I don't know if there was ever really probably those early years, the expectations, and then probably, like you said, we finished to pick, next to last, in our conference, be hard pressed for any of you to go back and look at your preseason SEC picks and say that you had us finishing, 4th in our league. But I think from that standpoint that we we're proud of that. We're proud of how we got there.
John Morant rejoined the Grizzlies last night, his first game back after an 8-game suspension. The Grizzlies won 130-125 over the Houston Rockets. The Seattle Kraken are in Nashville tonight for a doubleheader here against the Predators. Their first game will be tonight at 7 p.m. Then a quick turnaround on Saturday for some matinee hockey, puck drop at 1. This report is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Tonight, your Nashville Predators return home to Smashville to take on the Seattle Kraken. Coverage begins at 6 on your home for Smashville. WPRT FM Grove, WBUC HD2 Laverne, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning. We'll have Predators head coach John Hines coming up at 7:30. Looking forward to that conversation with him. And then our weekly visit with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports from 8 to 8:30. Got a lot to get into with Charles on the NFL front, so looking forward to that as well. Right now, taking your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, we've talked a lot about the David Long Jr. move to the Miami Dolphins, and now, of course, Azeez Al-Shaair has come in and has replaced David Long Jr. at linebacker for the Titans. So we'll see how that part of it works out. But some comments made by David Long Jr. At the expense of Mike Vrabel that have been pointed out, and I saw A to Z Sports came out with this yesterday. Sam Phelan put this out there of some comments that David Long Jr. made about the Titans and about Mike Vrabel specifically and some of his comments. Now, we know we've talked at length about Vrabel's comments about repeat offenders with the soft tissue injuries and how David Long Jr. and Christian Fulton, specifically by name, were called out by Mike Vrabel a few months ago at the end of the season when it comes to the repeat offenders of the soft tissue injuries. And David Long Jr. told Chris Perkins of the South Florida Sun-Sentinel that being called out by Vrabel caught him by surprise. Says, quote, "It's unfortunate. It created a narrative about how he takes care of his body," talking about David Long Jr. He said, quote, "If you watch film since my rookie year to this year, every play I lay it down on the line. That was a surprise to me. It created a narrative." This from David Long Jr. earlier this week discussing the comments that Mike Vrabel had about his injury history. What do you make of the comments there from David Long Jr. about Mike Vrabel and what his thoughts were? And I guess, what do you make of Vrabel making some of these comments? We saw A.J. Brown last year talk about how, he didn't have a whole lot of fun playing for the Titans. It's a little bit more fun in Philadelphia. Now David Long Jr. is talking about the narrative that Vrabel created about his injury history. What do you make of all this from David Long Jr. earlier this week?
Well, I think there's a lot. There's typically sour grapes, when someone moves on to another team. I think this is more than that. Like the A.J. Brown fun thing was just stupid.
Yes.
A.J. Brown just saying dumb stuff. But, another thing, part of this, which is pointed out by Sam Phelan, and he wrote about this A to Z Sports, is a tweet which I missed from David Long 9 days ago. So right around the start of free agency. And the tweet is, "You would have thought I tore my ACL the way they treat me."
Yep.
And he has like a crying emoji, wild. So, that kind of tells you. I mean, Vrabel, first of all, what Vrabel said actually did, because I heard him that day and I thought it was interesting, but I still didn't leave thinking that they wouldn't prioritize David Long Jr. But they didn't. So he sort of gave the hint that day. And I understand David Long Jr. being, upset, quote unquote, creating the narrative, sort of the idea that, I guess, some of this injury stuff is on him. I mean, I agree with what David Long says about his play. I mean, he goes out there, he's a heck of a player, and he throws it all out there, and there's just no doubt about that. I mean, you have to love him as a player if you watch him. It's also true that he's missed too much time, so I get the idea that it was a quote unquote narrative. I can't believe that Vrabel would say this stuff if it was just like he's had bad luck. I mean, look, we know about the fine for Rashad Weaver for, I don't even remember if he missed
being
or if he was
late
just
or something.
late to a training session. It is a huge part of this.
And the only reason we know about that is because
because
Rashad Weaver decided to put it on social media. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, exactly. So how many things like that happen that aren't shared publicly?
Right.
But I mean, for a guy who played in the league, it's like you got to be in the playbook, you got to know what you're doing, all that stuff. Also, like if you don't do every single thing to take care of your body and figure out how to be available, you are a diminished commodity in this league. So, I mean, it's I kind of feel for David Long on this. But without knowing everything, I can't believe that Vrabel says this stuff if it's purely like the dude just had bad luck. I mean, to me, it sounds like he didn't like some of what he was doing or wasn't doing or whatever to get himself on the field. I mean, he missed 12 games the last 2 years.
Well, that's my thing. Like, what narrative is he creating? Like, you miss games. Like, he talked to – the only thing Vrabel said was – he said, quote, "It doesn't take too hard to look and see that Christian Fulton and David Long were repeat offenders on soft tissue injuries." That's what he said. So, I mean,
but the narrative is offender, right? The narrative is just the idea that you would be at fault for your injuries.
Well, yeah. People view those things differently, and maybe that's what David Long Jr. is talking about. But I think it's pretty clear that Vrabel, with the soft tissue stuff, has way less patience for that type of stuff. Like the torn ACLs and all that stuff, like things happen, right? Like Harold Landry, he's out there on the practice field. It's a freak thing. He tears his ACL. It is what it is. You got to go, rehab and get it repaired. Like the soft tissue stuff, I think it's clear that Vrabel has a little bit less patience for that than he does anything else. Now, is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. I guess that just depends on how you look at it. But I guess the word narrative to me, I'm like, well, man, I mean, you missed 12 games the last 2 years, and you had multiple soft tissue injuries. What narrative is he creating?
Yeah, I mean, it's just – and look, I mean, honestly, I hadn't really thought about it the way that Vrabel talked about it that day, just in general. This repeat offender.
Yeah.
And I still think of injuries as like, I mean, come on, these guys go to the training room, right? I mean, you're not going to the training room. You're not going to the cold tub. I mean, you're not stretching. Are you refusing to stretch before the games, Like, it's just an interesting idea, but Vrabel, in more depth there with the idea of the callus and the blister and sort of pushing through some discomfort to get yourself to where you're more durable. Now, is that really true for everybody? I mean, I guess I have my doubts. I just think some people are injury prone and some aren't, right? But still, I mean, you have to do everything. So I have to assume that somewhere along the way, David Long, that they weren't happy with, like, in what something that he was doing or not doing to do this. So you got another guy who's do we have Titans Dolphins this year? We get Titans? I don't think we do, right?
I don't think so. Let me look at the schedule.
I don't think
I think they may.
Dolphins this year. Do you? Okay. Yeah, I could be remembering wrong, but David Long flying all over the field. I mean, he's a really good player. We're going to see if
they do.
Okay.
In Miami.
Here or there. Okay. All right. Well, David Long, introduce him last. I know that you have, some star players on that team, but introduce David Long Jr. last.
Can you imagine all the one-handed push-ups that'll be going on that day? David Long Jr. for the Titans Revenge Tour and Tannehill going back to Miami? My goodness.
Oh, man. And David Long chasing Tannehill around. How about that?
Oh, could be something. Well, look, obviously, Vrabel in that same answer talked about, Kevin Byard not pulling a hamstring since they've been here and went on to talk about guys that are durable and guys that are not. The more I look at this, though, Joe, like the more it seems like I don't know that they ever really gave a whole lot of consideration to bring David Long Jr. back. Like it just kind of feels like from the comments that Vrabel had at the end of the year to the tweet that David Long Jr. had a couple of days ago to what the Titans ultimately decided to do. Like I don't know how much serious consideration the Titans even gave to bringing David Long Jr. back. It just kind of feels like they were washing their hands of him and we're done.
Which is just, it stuns me. And maybe, look, if it's because Alshire was just the plan, And it was like basically as soon as like Rand came in, it was like, I got the guy. This is perfect. He would have started for 27 teams last year, whatever. And I guess if it was that was already determined, then I guess I get it. But I David Long Jr., I mean, their defense to me took a clear step back last year when he was not on the field. As important as Danico Autry is, and I would say more important, David Long Jr. made a big difference in that defense. I feel like in the locker room and everything, good presence and all that. That's surprising to me. But yeah, that tweet by him kind of tells you that at the very least they really lowballed him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll probably never know exactly what the details look like, but just reading between the lines, it doesn't feel like there was ever really a whole lot of consideration to bringing him back seriously if you're the Titans. So, I mean, that's a decision that now they've made. I mean, when we first saw the contract that David Long Jr. signed with Miami, I mean, we were both like, really? 2 years, $11 million? That's all it took to get David Long Jr. signed? Could the Titans not have done that? But the more you look at it, the more it just seems like there was never really real interest in the Titans part on doing that.
Well, and you look at that number, and that's, to me, is probably where the narrative idea comes to him. He's like, because he's talking about like how I'm an offender as an injury guy, teams were scared or use that to drop my market price. I mean, I would understand some frustration on his part.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation. 615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation on the Titans and look specifically at Mike Vrabel. Where is Mike Vrabel at with this Titans fan base right now? And with everything that's happened over the past few months, how do we view Mike Vrabel heading into this next season? We'll get into all that coming up next. Make sure you tune in later this morning at 8:45 for your chance to participate in Pred's Pick to Click and win a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. Pick to Click brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred to so often. And Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Tune in to Robby and Rexrode this week for your chance to win tickets to the Louder Than Life Festival.
They're all in there, man. They're trying to win. Yes.
The Louder Than Life Festival, September 21st through the 24th at the Kentucky Expo Center in Louisville. Catch some of the biggest acts in music.
That rocks.
Blew the house up, man. It was ill.
Listen for your chance to win all this week on Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter, but it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
It's the Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair. This week only, save up to 50% in every department, including all 4K TVs, appliances, laptops and tablets, speakers, and more. You'll not find a lower price anywhere. We guarantee it. The Famous Half Price Fair. It's first come, first served. Sale ends Saturday at 9 p.m. Hurry into any of our convenient locations. Plus, get up to 3 years free financing. The Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair ends this Saturday at 9 p.m.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon and my accent is always on value.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Eastside Bowl in Madison, a vintage bowling alley, music venue, diner, lounge, and arcade designed by locals for locals. And March 28th, don't miss the Battle of Nashville, Nashville's best Rage Against the Machine tribute band. Right now, you can get 2 hours of bowling plus shoe rentals for up to 6 people for just $45. That's 2 hours of bowling plus shoes for up to 6 people, just $45. Go to theGameNashville.com/deals to get yours now.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage? You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Mobil 1 can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $38.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Are your brackets busted? Sign up and play the official 16-team Game Bracket Challenge, brought to you by Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports, and the Bluffs at Rocky Ridge. Enjoy the biggest and best views in the Nashville area from your dream acreage home site. Call now at 866-GET-LAND. You can go to theGameNashville.com/bracket challenge or the Game Nashville app now and pick your teams for a chance to win tickets to see Luke Combs coming up at Nissan Stadium on Saturday, April 15th. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Adam from Portland. Adam, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Robby, man. Hey, you know what I think, dude? Just like sitting here listening to you guys, I think we got to prepare for a pretty long year for the Titans. Like, I think it's going to be bad. Because I'm always like, I look at NFL.com probably 20 times a day, and I'm always looking for some type of Titans news. There's been nothing. There's been, Denzel Perryman maybe it's boom signed to somebody. Like I don't think Rand Carthon. Maybe he's smarter than we are. Maybe he's just like, this team sucks. This team is not going to be good. Okay, you can make the argument, but they got a good defense. They don't have a good defense. They have a good run defense and like one really good defensive player. We're like historically bad at pass defense. So we're not good. We have too many holes everywhere. I think we got to strap in for a long season, man. Like we have made no good attempts as far as free agents go. I don't know what the draft's going to look like, but no attempts to be competitive. So I think it's going to be a long year.
Thanks for the call, Adam. Now, the one thing I'll say about that is, first off, we've talked about the pass defense, run defense stuff, Joe. Like the pass defense numbers for the Titans last year were not good when you just go by yardage. Now, at some point, I think teams just basically said, you know what? We can't really run the ball against the Titans, so we're not going to run the ball against the Titans. We're just going to throw it. And I'm not saying that the Titans don't need to get better in their pass defense. They got to find a way to affect the quarterback more than they did last year, and they need their corners to play better. Now, having people healthy and not having to have like a Monty Hooker play your slot corner would probably help next year too if you could get people actually playing their position. So that's a long way of me saying I'm not saying that there's not improvement needed in their pass defense. I don't think it was as bad as the traditional numbers would suggest a year ago.
A little bit of a downer there for Adam, huh?
It was. Adam usually takes the opposite approach.
I mean, I get it to some extent. Just sort of no big splash moves. Didn't expect any really, but just some, I guess, kind of nibbling around the edges. Although I think that there's multiple starters that have been brought in. But yeah, I think that aspect of it in particular, if it goes the way they planned, and you're affecting quarterbacks, and they've got the people in place to affect quarterbacks, and I think be a lot better overall against the pass next year. Don't know that it'll happen for sure, but I don't look at that as an issue. I mean, I look at the offense as a definite cause for anyone to look at this team and say, what is happening? Like, what are you going to be able to do in this league next year offensively? We're still waiting on something, possibly a trade, obviously the draft. But I get pessimism on that side of the ball. I think you should be pretty optimistic about the Titans' defense right now.
Well, offensively, look, right now they're a terrible offense. There's no other way to look at it. They don't have any receivers. Like they've got Traylon Burks, they've got Kyle Phillips, and that's pretty much it. I mean, Raising McMath, NWI, you could throw them in there too. But I mean, I have no idea what their finished product at receiving core is going to be and going to look like. And look, even the offensive line, they've addressed it, right? I mean, Brunskill coming in, you got Dillard coming in. I have no idea if Andre Dillard is a competent left tackle in this league or not. My guess is he's probably better than Dennis Daly. I don't think that's a huge bar to clear there if you're the Titans. Is he a good left tackle? Like, is that, like he said it the other day, his goal is to be the left tackle for this Titans team, which is great. Is he good? Like, if he's not, then you're in trouble if you're the Titans. Like, so I have no idea what he's going to look like. But, I mean, it's hard to look at this offense right now and not be overwhelmingly concerned based on really nothing else but wide receiver. But even the offensive line, like, I like that they've addressed it. I like that Brunskill's coming in. I like that Dillard's coming in, and they're still going to have to address it in the draft. So it's not a complete picture yet, but I have no idea what kind of a player Andre Dillard's going to be for the Titans.
No, and he has to be really good. Now, that it also how they feel about it, I guess, that may be expressed during the draft. I mean, I don't know that, and that'll certainly be the narrative. Speaking of narratives, if they draft like Paris Johnson, it'll be like, well, okay, so basically Dillard was just kind of brought in to shore things up, be a depth guy, set up. That, who knows? I mean, it may just begin to be, you know what, best player available, still a critically important position, and it makes the most sense to draft him. But, I don't know what Nicholas Petit-Frere is going to be next year.
Yeah,
he better be a lot better. Could be. You sometimes see players take jumps from year one to year two. New O-line coach. I mean, there's just a lot to find out. But if they don't have some improvement in terms of pass catching, speed, downfield threat, then even if the offensive line is like best case scenario, I think there's limitations.
Kevin from Laverne on the text line, getting back into Vrabel, says, Vrabel all of a sudden wants to call our players out for their play and non-availability. It made me really mad when he called out Derrick Henry for saying he had a fumbling issue, but he didn't want to call out Tannehill for throwing 3 interceptions and losing to the Bengals. As I recall, Henry has won us more games than Tannehill ever has, yet Vrabel throws him under the bus. I think he's scared for his job now, so he's blaming other players. This from Kevin from Laverne on the text line. What do you make of that?
It's aggressive. I don't think he's scared for his job at all. But that's the funny thing about this is that Vrabel really doesn't get into individual evaluations a lot. He really doesn't. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the exact wording of the Derrick Henry. I mean, I think he was asked about it, wasn't he? He was like just asked directly about the fumble. He's like, yeah, it's got to get better, right? Like, or maybe honestly, he might have said we can't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't recall a situation where he's like, and Derrick Henry, by golly, if that guy doesn't stop fumbling the football, guys, we have no chance. I mean, it wasn't. I don't think he ever quote unquote threw him under the bus. Now, I get the contrast there because after the Cincinnati playoff game, everybody's down on Tannehill. Let me raise my hand. The column I wrote that day, it's just like, here it is. This is the problem. If you want to go win a Super Bowl, and he was, I feel like almost like he felt like it was necessary to go the other way and kind of protect a player at that point because like the entire city wanted to run Tannehill out, right? So you got to remember the context of that too. So. But, I don't think he's, like, scared for his job or excessively calls out players. I mean, the Fulton Long soft tissue thing was really interesting. I mean, I hadn't even really thought about it in those terms, but it is a huge part of the job. I mean, this is your job. And your body being able to take this absolute collision destruction on a regular basis, it's hard to get to that point.
Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Jay from Mount Juliet. Jay, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, just if anybody thinks they know how the season is going to go, you gotta wait and see how it all plays out. But what I do like what Rand's done is he's given the team options. I mean, with so many holes to fill, you don't have the time or resources to fix every one of them. But bringing in patches and plugs and people that can contribute, I mean, he's giving them options. So when he goes to the draft, he's not having to look at, all right, I got to take a tackle here, or I have to take a receiver. Like, you and build that way, as opposed to trying to fix each position one at a time.
Yep, thanks for the call, Jay.
And lastly, as far as I mean, listening to Brunskill and Arden Key, I know they were from they had Niners ties, but tell me those aren't Vrabel guys. I'm excited for some of these people.
Yep, thanks for the call, Jay. I mean, I did think about that watching those guys speak the other day. That there's a lot of the same qualities that Vrabel and Carthon and all those guys are looking for. I mean, the options part of this, Joe, I agree. Now, having said that, I like what the Titans have done at this point. We talked about it heading into free agency. I think spending big money with this free agent group would have been a mistake, and they've not done that, which I think is a smart way to go about it. I still think there's a whole lot of work left to do with this roster that I don't think they're going to be able to do in one offseason.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's going to be some holes, or you have to have some surprises, that step up and help you out, and just to even have enough depth everywhere. But if you have a fantastic draft, if you have a 2019 like draft, then it will. Some of these things we talk about and we have no idea how they're going to dress now, or will be answered.
Coming up next, we'll be joined by Predators head coach John Hines. The Preds back in action tonight at home against the Seattle Kraken. They'll take on Seattle tonight, and then again against Seattle coming up on Saturday. Both games at Bridgestone Arena. John Hines joining us next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hi, I'm Jussi Saros. And this is Smashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by Jussi Saros there. Unreal.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Spring in and style up with huge savings on top athletic brands at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin. Stay active this spring with up to 70% off the athletic styles you love. Shop deals on thousands of styles from top athletic apparel and footwear brands, like $10 tees, tanks, and shorts for the family, $20 swimwear, $20 golf polos, and running footwear for $60 or less. Find incredible deals and incredible style at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin at Watson Glen.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now, it's a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? And intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com, where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. RAMP.com/sports.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
When you want live and local,
If they were just better at the offensive line,
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
they've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
the AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Thursday morning. The Preds back in action tonight, hosting the Seattle Kraken. They'll host them tonight and host them again coming up on Saturday as well. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Predators head coach John Hines. John, good morning. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We're awesome. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So, John, we talked after the game Saturday, and I felt like your guys played really hard in that game against Winnipeg, and a tough loss in overtime. Obviously, you lose Roman in that game, and you just didn't have it the next night against the Rangers. What did you make of the way your young group in particular responded in the Buffalo game, hanging up 7 goals?
Well, it was a great response. You know, as you said, I thought the Winnipeg game was a hard-fought battle, and then I think losing Roman was, just what it does. I think to the players, he's such a, he's a leader on the ice, he's a leader off the ice, and I think with the amount of veteran guys we had out of the lineup to go into New York, who was playing really, really well, and I think we were a little overwhelmed by the moment, just how good a team they were and how they played, and then obviously the quick goals that went in kind of got back on our heels a little bit. But we didn't overreact to it. It was a lesson we had to take out of it, and I think it was how are we going to respond. And part of the lessons we took out of that game was I think just our level of detail wasn't what it needed to be, and we tightened up some of those areas, but also talked to the group about this is an opportunity for this group to respond to a tough loss. We really hadn't had a game like that since really the deadline, since we had all the changes, and I thought it was a really good response. I think the areas that we wanted to get better in, our attention to detail, our ability to check the right way was really good, and we checked really well for offense, and you saw the result of that. So it's something we can certainly build on.
Got Joe audio problems there. We'll get Joe back in here in a second. John, just following up on that, Luke Evangelista, obviously, 4 points in 1 period the other night. He's been we've talked to you about him so many times since he's come up, but to have a game like that, to have a period like that, we've talked about physically how he's got to mature, but what do you make of the way that he just continues to settle in and be productive for you guys?
Well, it's been pretty impressive, and I think there's also there's the physical attributes that we talked about that he has to, just naturally as he gets bigger and stronger in training, and he just gets more mature as a young man is something that's going to happen naturally, along with the work that he's going to have to put in. But that's the beauty of the game of hockey. I think when you have a high hockey sense, high hockey IQ, he's a fearless kid. He's got some moxie and swagger to his game. He sees plays. He's able to make plays. Sometimes when you're a playmaker like that, you are going to make some mistakes, but he doesn't go into a shell. He can move on from it. He's got a great attitude, and I think that's what's allowed him to be successful, even though he's not the most physically mature player at this point right now. It's his hockey sense. It's his hockey IQ, the swagger that he plays with. and he's a competitive kid. You know, he's been hit a few times hard, bounces right back up, stays in the play. He hurt his shoulder when we were out on the road trip, and it was almost like we had, he wanted to play, and we had to basically, from a medical standpoint, just say, hey, it's in the best interest if we, you take a game off and let it heal a little bit more, and that's what you like about him, and that's the signs of a really good player.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask, John, is with Luke, but not just Luke, some of these other guys. I know that people talk about whatever, like the rookie wall. I mean, sometimes you can come into this league, and then at some point the physicality consistently can grind you down a little bit. What are you seeing from those guys in terms of that, kind of being able to handle this higher level of play on a night in, night out basis right now?
Yeah, Joe, I'm really glad your audio came back. Wouldn't be the same without you.
Really would.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's been a little hit or miss with those guys. It is a grind, like I think some of the benefits possibly is that they weren't here all year, so it hasn't been an NHL grind for those guys up to this point in the season. I also think that there is a real hunger. I mean, when you see these guys at the rink every day, I mean, they're excited to be here. They're hungry. They want to make the most of their opportunity. They also realize there's another league, riding the bus and the differences in the American League to the NHL is something that all these kids, like, they're making the most of every day. And I think that's really helped carry them and helped carry our team. But I think the other part of it is there are challenges. You look at the Ranger game where, it is a back-to-back against a team that is, projected to probably get to the conference final, if not the Stanley Cup finals, and just the speed and, the physicality and the attention to detail that those players play with, particularly at this time of the year, it was a real challenge for us. And I think when you look at even the upcoming schedule, 2 at Seattle, at Boston, at Pittsburgh, those are all heavyweight teams that are in the playoffs. Pittsburgh's fighting for a playoff spot, but they're an elite team. Now the challenge is really going to come. How do we handle those style of games, those type of teams, night in and night out? We also have Toronto on Sunday. So we have some heavyweights coming into play, and the style of game is going to be really, really demanding. And that's the challenge we have to face. We're going to try to help those guys through it, but I think that's where you realize how hard the league is going to be. But I'm confident that these guys are going to be they're going to be able to respond and handle it the right way.
Preds head coach John Hines with us here on Robby and Rexrode. So, John, you guys actually got some good news on the injury front the other night with Ryan McDonough coming back in there, which was a nice change of pace for you guys. Where are you currently on the injury standpoint with Roman and Phillip and Parsonen and all these different guys that have been out, and how nice was it to get McDonough back in there the other night?
Well, it was really nice to get Ryan back in. I do think it was a big change for the group to not have guys like, basically the veteran players we had in the lineup in New York was Colton Sissons, Matt Duchene, and Tyson Barrie, who all did a good job, the best they could. But not to have like a Roman or a McDonough in the room that have been helping through this whole process from the trade deadline, with all the changes. Those are two big leaders on our team that were out on and off the ice. So it was really nice to get Ryan back. You could just tell the feeling in the room. It was like, the things that he says, his presence, how he plays. It was a big help to get him back. So we were excited for that, and he had a really good game. As far as Roman's day-to-day, Phillip, Parson, and Carey are not day-to-day at this point.
So if and when you get everybody back, John, I don't know if you've thought about this, but obviously we were talking the other day about really some interesting lineup decisions, I guess in particular with the forwards. But, I guess how would you view that if you can get everybody back? Have you thought about that, where everybody would fit now in kind of this new reformed lineup?
Yeah, it would be. I mean, obviously, you'd like to be able to have those guys back. They're all really good players for us and big parts of our team. But I think it also will be challenging if guys come back because the way that guys have played in elevated roles, the consistency level that they've played with. I think that 2 areas of our game that have really gotten better and more consistent since all the changes have been made, is we're playing a much, we have a lot of speed in our lineup, so we're a faster team. I think from an offensive perspective, the guys are, doing a good job off the rush in the skill areas. And then when you get in the offensive zone, when it comes to the hardness and the competitiveness of the battle areas, when you get in the offensive zone, that's something that I think has been a little bit hit or miss, but they're really working towards being more consistent in that area. So it'll be challenging. I mean, you guys are making a real statement for themselves as individuals and as a team. But I think that's a good problem to have. When you have players returning to the lineup that are certainly impact players on your team, but you have guys in the lineup that have really made a case for themselves and have been competitive and producing and playing the right way and having good attitudes. It's challenging, but that's a good problem to have as a coach.
John, last thing for you here. I mean, we've talked to you a lot about Cody Glass throughout the year and the process that he's gone through to get to a point where you guys are relying on him pretty heavily. What have you made, I guess, of that progress, and have you seen enough from him this year that makes you think that he could be a good option as a top 2 centerman for you guys moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, Cody's growth. He continues to take on that role of a top line center, and I think that the thing I really like about him, he's been very consistent. But there have been several games, where maybe he's not physically at his best, or he kind of has a little bit of an off night, because he's such an impact guy right now with his skating, and he plays multiple roles for us. He's basically playing with center and Duchesne. I think that line usually is getting the harder matchups or the top 2 or top 4 D that we're playing against, and he's handled that really well. But if there is a slight off night where he's just been average, there's not 2 or 3 games in a row, and that's part of being a really good NHL player is being able to bounce back and have your A game most nights. But he doesn't really have like a C game. He has an A game or he has a B game. If he has a B game, in a quick hurry, in the next game or 2, he's back to an A game. And I think that's a huge growth process for a young player to be able to have that consistency. And the way that he's played thus far, and looking forward to him continuing down the stretch in some tough games and a tight playoff race. He's really showing the signs that he's going to be a really good option as a top 2 line center. And I think also for him, he's going to continue to mature and get bigger and stronger. And but right now he's showing the ability to do it, and that's all you need to do as a player is make the case for yourself, and he's certainly doing that.
Well, John, really appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. As always, good luck tonight against Seattle, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Thanks.
Absolutely. You as well. Preds head coach John Hines with us here on Robby and Rexrode. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Seattle Kraken. Puck drop at 7 o'clock, pregame at 6 o'clock here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Coming up next, it's time for the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Shot like a 2, and the tray is good from Jordan Wright.
After an amazing end-of-season run, the Vanderbilt Commodores look to win the NIT.
Wright fires. Wow!
Join Jerry Stackhouse and his team for every moment on your home for Vanderbilt basketball. 93.3 Classic Hits.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like the aggressively sophisticated Toyota Highlander, with room for up to 8 and the most advanced safety features. Now through April 4th, you can get low 3.99 APR financing on a new 23 Highlander. With approved credit through TFS, excludes hybrids, and every new Toyota comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance included. Get complete details at buyatoyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
Come see Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace live, followed by Stillman & Company at Central Barbecue in Hillsborough Village on Thursday, March 23rd to kick off this week's college hoop action. Come for lunch and dinner and cheer on your favorite teams.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
The Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair is going on now. Hurry in and save up to 50% on anything in the store. It's first come, first serve. The Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair going on now.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing.
But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in, focus in, focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
I had the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
And it is that time of the day, time for the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45. The Rob Rant, the Rex Rant, or the Red Rant. One of those will be coming your way every morning at 7:45 here on the program. As Nate on the text line points out, this is the third Rob Rant this week. So 3 Rob Rants this week, 1 Rex Rant. I am stealing Joe Rexrode's thunder by the day. I am the captain now, and this is now my segment. Joe, how do you feel about it?
I approve.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do one tomorrow, guys.
Maybe so.
More Rob rants. More red rants.
More red rants. All the way around. All right, I'm ranting about Pro Day today, and I have a two-pronged approach to this. Number one, and we've even had some questions on our text line about this over the last couple of days. Like, the Cam Newton Pro Day is just, can we please stop? Like, look, we've seen Cam Newton actually play football in the NFL, and we saw what it was like a couple of years ago as Cam Newton was winding down playing football in the NFL. He did not play this past season. And look, I largely like Cam Newton. There are a couple things he does every now and then that I just shake my head at. But for the most part, I find him to be entertaining. I think he's kind of fun. I like Cam Newton, and I love the player that he was coming out of Auburn. But, like, he sat there in T-shirt and shorts a couple of days ago and threw like 33 passes, and now all of a sudden people think that he's just like some starting quarterback in the NFL. And I'm like, were you guys not paying attention the last time we actually saw Cam Newton play football? And look, I don't want to revisit the comments that our friend Keyshawn Johnson made of like ranking Cam Newton as like the 12th best quarterback in the league at one point a couple of years ago. And I was like, really? That's quite the interesting take that you have right there. But like Cam Newton throwing a ball 55 yards down the field on a rope in T-shirts and shorts really doesn't mean a whole lot to me. Like, we've seen Cam Newton do that. We know that he has good arm talent and that he can throw the football. But what does he look like on the field in the NFL? And the simple truth of it is, last few years he was in there, wasn't very good. So I'm not saying that he's not an NFL player. Like, I still think Cam Newton could probably be a good backup somewhere. But, like, this idea that he's like all of a sudden because of this pro day, some high-level starting quarterback again, I can't get behind. Now, he's been talking about all week long how there are not 32 quarterbacks better than him in the NFL. I don't know. I mean, look, there are some guys that are starting in the NFL that are not very good. So I don't know. Like, is Cam Newton the 30th best quarterback in the league or the 31st best quarterback in the league? I don't know exactly where he would rank anymore. I'm not saying he's not an NFL quarterback, but can we stop with the pro day stuff? I understand that he looks good throwing the ball in T-shirts and shorts, and this is a big pro day week. I mean, C.J. Stroud had his pro day yesterday, and Dan Orlovsky was talking about it. He was perfect. Every throw was perfect, all these things. I think Bryce Young's is either today or tomorrow. I mean, the pro days are coming hot and heavy this week, and I'm not saying that pro days are useless. I think that you can learn some valuable things. But I just want to flash back to 2 years ago, Joe Rexrode, where the biggest story of the pro day that offseason was Zach Wilson and throws that Zach Wilson could make at his pro days. And he took a snap, he rolled out to his left, he threw one back across his body like 55 yards down the field on a rope, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, he's the next Patrick Mahomes. It's Zach Wilson out there slinging the ball around. Let's focus a little bit less on the pro days. Pro days, to me, in a lot of cases, or at least should be at the quarterback position, like confirmation of what you think you already know. Like, what does the game tape show you? What does your evaluation show you? What have you learned about this player in the meetings? And then the pro day, unless they just totally go out there and screw it up, which is really hard to do on a pro day, by the way, because there's a lot of things working in your favor, then it's just confirmation at that point of like, okay, we still feel good about this guy. Other than that, like, I don't know how much stock you really need to put into the pro days for the quarterbacks, and I look no further than Zach Wilson a couple of years ago. So let's chill on the Cam Newton stuff, and let's chill on the pro day stuff. I thought there's some people yesterday with Stroud that I thought that like their tongue was going to fall out of their body. They were salivating so much on his pro day.
Like, if you can't make all the throws darn near perfectly on your pro day when and I know there's pressure, and half the NFL was in Columbus watching those guys yesterday, but still, you got nobody coming at you trying to tackle you. You got, you're not reading a coverage. I mean, you're just throwing the football. If you can't be darn near perfect in that situation, that's where a pro day would be valuable. You'd have a red flag.
Yeah.
But yeah, this getting excited about them throwing well at pro day it's hilarious. I'm with you. And the Cam Newton thing is just, the question about him is whether he can handle playing in this league anymore. It's not whether he can throw a football. He's been the MVP. He's played in a Super Bowl. Now, I guess I suppose with him it is a little, because of injuries, the questions about him throwing the football. So I suppose, getting out there showing you're healthy and that, like, you got the zing back. I guess there's something to that. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, I'm trying to think in other sports if you have a situation like that where, it's like the old guy comes in to where the college kids are supposed to be helping them. So like, yeah, move out of the way. Let me throw this football a little bit.
It's weird.
Pro days are, I mean, it goes along with a lot of the NFL offseason. I mean, I love the NFL, but like, I like sports games. Sports meat marketing for months and months is seriously, it's almost nauseating.
Well, it just, like I said, like, do you remember how much conversation there was around Zach Wilson off that one throw he made at Pro Day? It's like, yeah, that's a great throw. He was off the platform, and he's got good arm strength. I'm not saying that you don't want a guy that has good arm strength, but, like, what does it really mean at the end of the day? We've seen Zach Wilson in the NFL. It's not very good.
Well, I guess I will say that at least what that play showed you, I mean, think back to when the Jets beat the Titans, which never should have happened when he was a rookie. And he was bad, like he's been bad for the most part, but he does make a play like that, and a couple times in that game, that's what he did. It was broken play, and he made a great throw. So I guess that's good. But yeah, like if you can't consistently run an offense and put the ball where you need to put it, who cares? You're not going to succeed in the league. And then there's all the whole Gilf stuff or whatever the heck's going on with that. Who knows?
Well, there is that too. But Bryce Young's pro day is coming up. Like I have no doubt that Bryce Young will look really impressive throwing the football around at his pro day. He'll be accurate. He'll put it on the money. He'll put it exactly where you need to put it. Is that really going to change the conversation around Bryce Young, or should it really? Like, either you love Bryce Young already and you think he's going to be really good based on what you've seen from Bryce Young and watching him play, Or you're another team that says, yeah, he's too small. We can't do it. Like, is that really going to change today for the pro day?
Bryce looks so big in his pro day. Holy cow, look how big he looks.
He's in the 200-pound range. Look at him throwing that ball around.
Alabama makes like the football smaller and everything's smaller, so he looks like a giant out there.
Throwing a Nerf basketball around out there.
Yeah. Saban and Nate Oates are on the sideline just yucking it up.
Maybe I'm just being a hater on the pro day, but like we got a couple questions yesterday about Cam Newton throwing it around. I was just like, guys, who cares? We've seen Cam Newton throw the football before. Is he like? First off, it's amazing to me that Cam Newton he's only 33. He's gonna be 34 coming up in May. Like I know when I actually logically think about it, it wasn't that long ago that he was in college football, but it just feels like he's so much older than he actually is, given the way his career has gone to this point.
Yeah, exactly. He's in NFL body age. He's not 33, and like just how he played is part of that.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was a tank out there, and look, for a while
and
it was fun.
Not protected as much as he should have been.
No, and because of his size, and I think that worked against him sometimes. But look, he's fun to watch, and I hope he makes it back in the NFL. Like I said, I largely really enjoy Cam Newton, and I hope he makes it back in the NFL. But like this idea that all of a sudden he's some starting quarterback in the NFL because he threw the ball well at the pro day, I just can't get behind. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. We'll get his thoughts on NFL free agency to this point and the top storylines around the league as well. That is coming up next. Make sure you join us coming up on June 7th. We've got the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. You can sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays. All the big stories.
If you're not ready to play in this league, you will lose. I don't care who you're playing.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Because I love the sport. We played the way we needed to.
Why would he make that move?
360, he slams it home. The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Birds Report.
Presented by Newton Nissan.
The Nashville Predators had a big offensive explosion after being shut out by the Rangers on Sunday night when they beat the Buffalo Sabres 7-3 on Tuesday in Western New York. They returned to Middle Tennessee shortly after the game, and now they will be taking on the Seattle Kraken later on tonight, the start of 3 games in 4 playing dates over the course of this weekend. Seattle tonight, Seattle Saturday afternoon. Plus, and that's following the unveiling of Pekka Rinne's statue on the Arena Plaza, and then they play the Toronto Maple Leafs on Sunday evening. After that, 2 games on the road in Boston and in Pittsburgh. Hope you can join everybody for the pregame show. Max Hers will have that for you coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, then the game at 7. This is Pete Weber reporting.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
In a world where human interaction seems to be reduced to chats and clicks and emails, where transactions are measured only by speed, where corporate policies overrule common sense, sometimes you just want to go old school. Welcome to Genesis Diamonds, a refreshing experience where personal relationships and authentic interaction are the norm, not the exception. At Genesis, you're here celebrating something awesome in your life, and we want to know all about it. We want to hear your story, listen to your requests, and be a meaningful part of whatever occasion this is. A proposal, an anniversary, a birthday, graduation, push gift, sweet 16. If it's important to you, it's important to us. So we don't care how long it takes. We're not paid on commission, and we're not beholden to some corporate rule book. We just want to help you get what you want to make it into a special memory. So take a break from modern shopping and go old school with us at Genesis. Let's start a real relationship that you can count on for life. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game and a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks has you covered for Lent. Try the fish and chips bundled with our 22-ounce draft for a steal on Fridays, or reel in one of our other seafood options like blackened fish tacos, shrimp Caesar, and char-grilled salmon.
Update. I'm Michelle Knezvik. The Vanderbilt Commodores' run in the NIT has come to an end. UAB defeated the Doors 67-59 in Memorial last night and will advance to the semifinals in Las Vegas. Jordan Wright led the Doors with 15 points and 8 rebounds. And after the game, Jerry Stackhouse spoke on the loss and the season as a whole.
I think you deal with things throughout the year. I mean, but I don't know if there was ever really probably those early years, the expectations, and then probably, like you said, we was finished to pick, next to last, in our conference, be hard pressed for any of you to go back and look at your preseason SEC picks and say that you had us finishing, fourth in our league. But I think from that standpoint that we're proud of that. We're proud of how we got there.
John Morant rejoined the Grizzlies last night, his first game back after an 8-game suspension. The Grizzlies won 130-125 over the Houston Rockets. The Seattle Kraken are in Nashville tonight for a doubleheader here against the Predators. Their first game will be tonight at 7 p.m. Then a quick turnaround on Saturday for some matinee hockey, puck drop at 1. This report is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezvik, the 1025-1063 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode on Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Robby Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezvik here with you on this Thursday morning. And as we do every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, we go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. Charles, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Rexrode okay? You all right, Joe?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I had the Solari had the shepherd's pie too. I had the shepherd's pie. Solari says he's okay, so I don't know what's going on, but I will never have the shepherd's pie at O'Donoghue's in Times Square ever again. I can promise you that.
Yeah, just steer clear of that, man. Come on, that's not a difficult decision. I feel for you though. I hope you feel better, man.
I just love that he's in New York City and the meal that he got was shepherd's pie.
I mean, it is. I mean, come on, we're not laughing at your misfortune, but really, come on, man. There's got to be a slice somewhere around that could have done better for you.
Oh, don't talk about it right now. I don't want to think about slices right now.
Gosh, we've got a lot to get into with Charles today on the program. Charles, we were just talking about Cam Newton and the pro day that he had at Auburn the other day. What do you make of, obviously he didn't play last year, wasn't in the league. What do you make of Cam Newton, how he's viewed right now in the NFL, and I guess his attempt to get back in there and get back in the league?
Oh, man. How do I put this nicely? Two of the most desperate places you will see guys out of the league is Radio Row during Super Bowl week and then pro days. Like it's the guys that pop up on Radio Row. It's always funny because you see people come through and you're like, you just know once guys are in the stage of like hawking something, and they're ex-players, they haven't been on a roster in a while. You're like, okay, yeah, it's definitely the end. Like that guy's not going to be popping up on a team anytime soon. It's really over. And then I think for quarterbacks, it's when you see, formerly great quarterbacks that are all of a sudden popping up at a pro day throwing to guys. And is there a spot anywhere in the league for Cam at this point? Realistically, no. I mean, maybe as a backup, desperation situation, but I don't think anybody's looking at Cam right now and thinking that's somebody that can come in and, meaningfully contribute to us. I mean, look at the 49ers. It's a good example. 49ers desperate for a quarterback at some point to get somebody in there because they just need to know we're going to have a warm body because we don't know what the injury situation, how it's going to unfold with Trey Lance and obviously Brock Purdy, and they go and get Sam Darnold, okay? And I mean, is anyone really high on Sam Darnold, and yet that's the guy that the 49ers reach out to, not a Cam Newton who has, had a much higher level of success and experience and everything. I think, look, it's over for Cam. That's what I would deduce from this at this stage. And, it was an interesting development and attempt, but Cam's not going to make any kind of a realistic comeback in the NFL. I don't think anybody should expect that.
Okay, how about Odell Beckham Jr.?
That's an interesting one. Odell it is cold sometimes out in the wilderness, man, when you're a free agent and you had high expectations for what your salary ceiling was going to be. And it's interesting because, now this suggestion where he's like, I don't know where this $20 million number is coming from, APY. And I'm paraphrasing him here. And, he kind of suggested that he's been offered $4 million a year. And he doesn't know where this $20 million a year figure is coming from. Well, I can tell him where it's coming from. It's coming from some of the teams that he spoke to, in the process. They all seem to think that, that was his salary target. Now, that might have changed dramatically in the last few weeks, but I think teams are looking at Odell Beckham Jr. and they're saying this is a guy who his best years are, and fully healthy seasons and best years are 7 years ago, 6 years ago? I mean, a long time ago, and he's had 2 knee injuries since. He had a flourish, obviously, with the Rams where he was a heavily used red zone guy and contested catch guy and had some success, but he gambled on himself and suffered a knee injury in Super Bowl, and that's sort of put him in a position now where I think he's probably staring at a series of one-year contracts to finish up his career. And unless he can latch on somewhere with a prove-it deal this year and really, really show, convince a team that he's got, 2 or 3 years left. What's interesting to me is I think Buffalo and when you look at Kansas City, they both need an Odell Beckham Jr., both of them do. I mean, Buffalo's, they're dying for a number 2 option right now, reliable number 2 who can really back up Stephon Diggs and take some pressure off of Josh Allen. And then I think, Kansas City, their wide receiver position is looking a little more bleak now that Juju Smith-Schuster is in New England. So, two great quarterbacks, and I think Odell could do, wonders playing for either of those teams. But at this point, the deal he's probably staring at, and I think this might be top end, might be like a $6 million base with a lot of incentives that potentially gets it to double figures in 2023. But wow, this is definitely not a player that I think has realized any bit of the hype kind of coming into what was sort of a tamped down free agency, and he was expected to be a bigger player than he really has developed into.
Charles, where do you think the Cowboys are right now? Obviously, Zeke gets cut, gets released. They trade for Stephon Gilmore. We know what the expectations are around that place and the storyline with Dak and the turnovers all last season. What do you make of the position that they're in as they move forward here, and how close you think they are to actually being a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, Zeke. It's interesting because Zeke. Zeke was good last year for them rotationally, and that's really what he is. He's a rotational player. I think they knew that. They offered him the opportunity to stay if he would have reworked his deal and took a significant pay cut, knowing, hey, it's really going to be a two-man show. We're expecting that Tony Pollard's going to be back. He's going to be the lead back. But you're essentially one half of a two-man backfield at this point, and to the Cowboys, that's probably less than half of what he was slated to make in 2023. But interestingly, I think going and getting Brandon Cooks, you talk about trading for Stephon Gilmore, which is it's a quality move. It's not the Stephon Gilmore of like 3-4 years ago. We got to be clear about that. But I think he is a very good, solid corner for them at this stage. But to me, I think Brandon Cooks actually might be the best acquisition they've made this offseason, because they really need a number 2 receiver. That's ultimately what he's going to be for them. He's going to give them not only deep speed, but experience. It pushes Michael Gallup to the number 3 spot, which he lost some confidence last year, and coming off of a knee injury and trying to bounce back in 2022 wasn't anything near where he thought he could be, and the team thought he could be. But they really needed a very, very solid, capable number 2 receiver with some speed, and Cooks will be that for them. So that I think it kind of evens out the wide receiver position for Dak Prescott. But look, all in all, I think that the NFC, interestingly to me, the AFC is loaded. It's very top heavy, but the NFC, Philly and San Francisco are probably your 2 best teams in the NFC. But when you look at free agency and you kind of look at the losses of Philly, you look at the quarterback position in San Francisco, both of those, you could sit there and feel somewhat shaky about, saying, hey, absolutely, these are going to be the top 2 teams in the NFC. Once you get past those 2, though, good luck. I mean, could Detroit be the 3rd best team in the NFC this next season? Yeah, absolutely. Could Dallas be the 6th best team? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a total crapshoot, I think, once you get beyond the top 2 spots. And the one thing Dallas really has going for them is they've got, defensive coach continuity with Dan Quinn. As you said, they added Gilmore, which is a good, solid piece. They added Cooks on offense, good, solid piece. And then now we have to see what does the play calling look like with Mike McCarthy. Obviously, you see the change at OC and really the play calling going in Mike McCarthy's hands. So I don't really know how to answer that other than just to say they got what they needed with the number 2 receiver on offense, and that should make Dak Prescott a little bit better next season.
Since it is pro day season, very exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just talking about this, Charles, the absolute people losing their minds because C.J. Stroud was making perfect throws on pro day at Ohio State. What is the value of a pro day from your perspective?
Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, it's not – I don't know. I think the throwing at the combine is more valuable than the pro day, because typically pro days, you've got a quarterback who's throwing to players they're more familiar with. There's a script that they've known. It's like someone going in for an acting audition. They already, they know what they're going there for. They've had a piece of paper in their hands. They know what to expect. Whereas the combine's a little bit different. You're throwing to unfamiliar players. There's at least some wild card aspect of the combine. The pro day is engineered for players to show their most perfect selves to NFL teams. So if anything, I would say that the value there is if a player comes out and stinks up their pro day, has a bad pro day, then there should be a little bit of alarm there, because it's literally built for you to go out there and ace it. And if you don't, then teams are going to question that. I will tell you this, a lot of teams enjoy the ability to, go into the pro day, maybe pick around the college programs a little bit. You talk to the strength and conditioning coach, you go and you try and find other individuals that you might not normally have access to inside the program, and pick their brains about a player and see if they screw up and give you a piece of information you didn't have. Now, again, that's also engineered to not happen, but I know it does happen at times. I've had GMs and scouts tell me you go to the weight room and you start talking to the training staff. You start talking to the equipment staff, people like that who, normally you're not going to have a lot of access to, and sometimes you'll walk away with a piece of information. But I'm with you. This perfection of C.J. Stroud, which he has. So far this whole process, he's done very well for himself. But all you do is hear teams complain about forget about the shorts Olympics. Let's go back to the tape and see where was the ball location when he was playing all these Big Ten teams. Where what did he look like against Georgia, which actually is pretty good. That's why I would tell people. Look, Carolina's not resolved who that number one pick's going to be yet. I think they're still working on that. And although Stroud's the betting favorite, that can shift before we get to the first pick of the draft. So let's just stay tuned.
We'll have more with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robby and Rexrode for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Does this sound familiar?
We have the worst agent in town, and we couldn't be more miserable. They showed up late to every showing, convinced us to lower the price way below market value, and let the cat in the house. We didn't even have a cat, but in the end, we never sold our house and lost our dream home. Hire our terrible agent and see the results for yourself. You'll totally regret it.
Don't let that happen. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why we are referred so often by home buyers and sellers. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, office number 615-432-2919.
It's the Electronic Express famous half price fair. This week only, save up to 50% in every department, including all 4K TVs, appliances, laptops and tablets, speakers, and more. You'll not find a lower price anywhere. We guarantee it. The famous half price fair. It's first come, first served. Sale ends Saturday at 9 p.m. Hurry into any of our convenient locations. Plus, get up to 3 years free financing. The Electronic Express famous half price fair ends this Saturday at 9 p.m.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Eastside Bowl in Madison, a vintage bowling alley, music venue, diner, lounge, and arcade designed by locals for locals. And March 28th, don't miss the Battle of Nashville, Nashville's best Rage Against the Machine tribute band. Right now, you can get 2 hours of bowling plus shoe rentals for up to 6 people for just $45. That's 2 hours of bowling plus shoes for up to 6 people, just $45. Go to theGameNashville.com/deals to get yours now.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like the best-selling Toyota Tacoma, with powerful off-road capabilities and the best resale value in its class. Now through April 4th, you can get low 3.99 APR financing on a new 2023 Tacoma, with approved credit through TFS, excludes TRD Pro, and every new Toyota comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance included. Get complete details at buyatoyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are good to go. Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We continue our conversation with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, brought to you by the NFL Alumni Association. And Charles, we were discussing the Lamar Jackson situation yesterday. From a timeline perspective, we're not that far away from the NFL draft right now. And Florio had the report at Pro Football Talk about apparently Lamar having some sort of representative that's not NFLPA certified contacting other teams. What do you make of where the Lamar Jackson situation is right now, the timeline in order to get this thing resolved, and maybe what the Ravens could be thinking as the NFL draft gets closer and closer?
I saw that the Titans hopped up in the gambling odds for his next team, which was weird. Yeah, that was interesting. That actually caught my attention because I have not heard anything, kind of in the ether about them being real players for him. In terms of where it's at, I think it's kind of in the same place it's always been. It's, his asking price is what it is. Teams are not interested in that. You got the report that comes out where, Steve Bisciotti apparently was put off by the Deshaun Watson contract and, allegedly created problems, for the Ravens and what the situation is, in terms of what Lamar Jackson wants. It's all the same things we've discussed before and that we know, and the difficulties that we're seeing right now when you talk about, there's people that are not certified by the NFLPA that are, reaching out and trying to do business for him in the background. This is why you have an agent. I'm sorry, but it's just the reality. And the process would be running more smoothly for him if he had hired an agent, if not necessarily for the trade, at least from the narrative standpoint, because a lot of us out here are asking questions to the Ravens or people that, know Lamar, trying to get specific details. And, he makes it sound like none of us know what we're talking about when it comes to the facts and figures of the deal and, what the Ravens have or haven't offered. At one point, it was funny, and it underscored to me how stupid this process is. At one point, he tweets out something, I think he was referring to like Adam Schefter, and he says, some kind of tweet where he's like, I need an agent, but, I got 3 years and $133 million guaranteed offered to me. And I was like, oh my God, like they offered him a 3-year fully guaranteed deal for $133. I called a guy who's right in the middle of the process with the team, and I'm like, is this real? And he just laughed. He's like, no. He's like, that's not correct. That was part of a 5-year deal. 3 of the years were guaranteed for $133 million, but that wasn't the whole deal, because had it been, I actually, in my mind, I would have said, well, that's actually a pretty decent offer by the Ravens. It's pretty close to 3 years and 150, a fully guaranteed deal that most everybody believes should have, would have gotten that done, get him back to free agency. So Lamar Jackson literally tweeted out a suggestive message that made the Ravens look better than their position really was, trying to make a point about Adam Schefter's reporting, and he wasn't even fully accurate about the deal that he was offered. That's how dumb this situation is. You're just like, it's just so stupid. And, and the Ravens are just shrugging okay, if you want to suggest that we actually offered you that and you turned it down, makes you look bad. How crazy is this? So the longer it goes, I think the more people start to understand where teams are coming at from this standpoint. The fact that Lamar Jackson's been injured 2 years straight, has not played full seasons. He's very suggestive about all the time he missed to close out the season last year was because of a real significant injury. Okay, that doesn't help you. That doesn't make teams want to rush out and offer you more than $200 million guaranteed in a contract. He has a depreciating aspect of his game, which is running. no quarter. Guess what? Josh Allen, that's going to depreciate in Josh Allen's game, just like it depreciated in Cam Newton's, just like it'll depreciate with Deshaun Watson. Every other guy that wants to run as a quarterback, eventually after 5 or 6 years, that starts to slide pretty badly. There's reasons why this is going on the way it is right now, and it sucks for Lamar Jackson. And he's got the ability to be a great player, but this whole thing was mishandled by him and his mom and whoever else is advising him at this point, and that's too bad. So I don't even know how to tell you how this resolves itself at this point, because the Ravens are just sitting there going, we don't think anybody's going to sign him to an offer sheet. We'd match it at this point. Teams aren't inclined to do their work for him. And, if you ask me to gauge this out, I think maybe he just plays on the 2 tags and goes to free agency in 2 years. And it's a really awkward, crappy situation for Baltimore the next 2 years.
Charles, what's at stake? What's important here with the owners' meetings?
The Aaron Rodgers trade has an opportunity to get some traction at the owners' meetings. All these decision makers get together, and the impasse that's between the Jets and the Packers could kind of get resolved there. I think the issue they're at, the crossroads they're at, the Jets, from what I understand, really want to offer a package of picks that don't look immediately attractive when you see them, but have the ability to escalate in the 2024 draft. Maybe there's an initial 2023 pick that's not that impressive, and then a 2024 pick that is potentially more impressive but could graduate depending on what Aaron Rodgers accomplishes with the Jets in 2023. So let's say in 2023, this year, this draft, the Jets are offering some kind of middle round pick, 3rd, 4th, whatever. And in 2024, potentially a 3rd round pick, that could be a 2nd round pick, that could be a 1st round pick, based on performance escalators, maybe how the team plays. Do you win the division? Do you win the AFC? Do you play in a Super Bowl? Things like that. And the Packers just straight up want, hey, give us a 1st round pick and we'll get this done. So I think that's one thing that'll get resolved. I think the Washington Commanders will probably hear more movement on the potential sale there. There seems to be indications that this is going to finally happen when you see the Snyders kind of clear out of the facility. It feels like this is turning a corner. It's just who exactly are the buyers at the table, which is, there's still a lot of lack of clarity, from that standpoint. But and then, you'll hear from, I'm kind of curious to hear from some other owners. Robert Kraft, I was there a year ago, and I listened to Robert Kraft kind of criticize Bill Belichick. And, I'm curious to hear what Robert Kraft has to say, this year, this time around, now that we've gone through an even tougher season for Belichick. So I'm just looking forward to, talking to some of these coaches and seeing the direction of the teams, and then, probably picking up a couple draft nuggets along the way.
Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Thursday morning from 8 to 8:30. Charles, thanks for being with us as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
I appreciate it, guys. Feel better, Joe.
Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely. Charles Robinson with us here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll take your thoughts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We'll react to Charles coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Preds fans, you coming out for tonight's big game? The pre-party action is at Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville, steps away from Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy great specials like $3 off any appetizer in the bar area and $20 bucket specials on Bud, Bud Light, Mick Ultra, and Landshark beer. A sports TV viewing mecca, the Landshark Bar and Grill is a Lower Broadway must-see. That's the Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on the corner of 4th Avenue and Broadway. Stop in before the Preds game tonight.
Sports and leadership go hand in hand. In fact, 94% of women executives were student athletes. Play Like a Girl is creating a more equal playing field for the next generation of women in leadership. You can help too. Become a mentor, donor, or volunteer. Learn more at iplaylikeagirl.org/mentor.
Experience the crisp, clean, smooth, and refreshing pure agave flavor of Dulce Vita Tequila. Dulce Vita Tequila is made using only 100% USDA certified organic blue agave that is harvested from Los Altos, Mexico. Dulce Vita Blanco is additive-free and gluten-free. Try it for yourself. 1.5 ounce of Dulce Vita Blanco Tequila, 4 ounces of sparkling water, and a squeeze of lime for a delicious ranch water cocktail that is less than 100 calories. Dulce Vita Tequila, pure and simple.
Buying or selling a house doesn't have to be overwhelming. Wouldn't it be nice if you had one or two people there to help you with everything? That's exactly what the team at Regal Realty Group will do for you. Writing up the contract, scheduling the inspection and appraisal, meeting deadlines, making sure all paperwork is correct with the state, basically making sure that you are protected throughout the real estate process. Regal Realty Group will do it all for you, including their in-house title company, Monarch Title. It's contract to close convenience. Give them a call at 866-OUTKICK and let them get to work for you.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
102.5 and 106.3, the game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robby and Rexrode, 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle, 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company, 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Come see Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace live, followed by Stillman and Company at Central Barbecue in Hillsboro Village. Come by for some great Memphis-style barbecue and catch your favorite teams compete in the tournament. Again, that's Central Barbecue in Hillsboro Village coming up today. So make sure you check that out. Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace will be there, as will Stillman and Company as well. 615-737-1025 on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Thanks to Charles Robinson for Yahoo Sports for joining us in the last segment. This Lamar thing is interesting, Joe. It's, I saw Charles was talking about this on Yahoo Sports the other day. Just, it kind of feels like with the draft coming up and nothing really happening at that point, the way that he ended that conversation there about playing on the tag maybe for a couple of years and hitting free agency, maybe it goes that way, and maybe that's the way this thing ends up playing out. What a precarious and awkward situation that would be for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens at that point. I mean, look, at the end of the day, business is business, and you got to go out there and play if you're Lamar Jackson. But if it goes the route of the franchise tag, playing on the tag this year, and then maybe playing on a tag next year, that would be quite the turn of events for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and look, if I was him in that situation, even if I've bungled this, and I agree, agents serve a lot of purposes. I mean, I keep going back to that, like just the conversations with people that no player can have, right? But even if it's on him, like if I'm him and that's the situation, like like if I'm playing the tag as opposed to I got a deal that I'm happy with and it's enough guaranteed money and all that, like I'm less likely to go throw my body out there for on a 3rd and 9 diving for the pylon. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you go out there and just dog it and just sort of half effort or whatever like that. But I think I'm a little less just bad feelings that if it turns out to be that way. And then again on the other side, it's like, okay, so now basically you can make it so that you have 2 more years with him, but you already kind of have to start thinking about post Lamar. He's gone after that. So is it even worth it to tag him a 2nd year? And if not, then now you have to start thinking about. And it's a little bit it's very different. But I mean, think about what we've talked about with the Titans. It's like Tannehill, Henry, they shore up the offensive line. They're not going to be bad. I mean, they're going to be pretty good, I think. So then getting the next quarterback gets more difficult too, and all that stuff. So it's too bad. I mean, I think the real, because I'm with it. There's just no team out there is gonna do what he hoped that they would do, and so at some point there's gonna have to be some humbling and some kind of coming back and and putting the guard down and being willing to have a conversation. And I just really wonder if the Ravens and Lamar Jackson are past that now.
Joe, Austin Hooper is signing a 1-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. Jordan Schultz of The Score was the first one to report that yesterday. It's not necessarily a surprise. He visited with the Raiders a couple of days ago, and now the deal made official. So I've not seen the financial terms on the deal yet, but it is a 1-year deal between Austin Hooper and the Las Vegas Raiders. So that means the Titans are going to have to go find another tight end, be that in the draft, be that in free agency. We'll still wait to see what happens with Jeff Swaim and his situation, but you've got Okonkwo on the roster. Austin Hooper not coming back. He's now with the Raiders. What do you make of his fit with the Raiders and now the hole that's left for the Titans to fill at the tight end position?
It's not a huge loss, but it's good to have tight ends who have demonstrated they can play in this league. And the way he played second half of the season, I think, was worth keeping around. The entire season, not great, but it changed dramatically. It was a huge disappointment, as you yourself said on this here program.
I did
at one point. So it's not a huge loss, but you got to have guys who have played this position. I think the Titans are going to draft a tight end and hope that now they have 2 young tight ends they can develop in the next few years with Chig and tight end to be named later, and that's good. But rookies don't just come right in. And I mean, Chig was a situational player last year for the most part. They need him to be the all-around tight end this year. We'll see. Took Jonnu Smith really until year 3 before he was on solid footing there. So you need to draft one. To me, you need to sign Swaim. Everybody listen, you need to sign Swaim, okay? And enjoy Jeff Swaim as one of your tight ends. And maybe sign someone else, but also I think that the move here with Rand Carthon so far is some versatility, some opportunities for people who haven't had opportunities this good because they've been on really good teams, and also it's younger and more athletic. And at that position, it's the same thing. Get younger and more athletic if you can. So I don't think they're going to draft 2 tight ends, but I could see next year's tight end room, including a drafted tight end and maybe an undrafted free agent tight end, which of course happens this late. There's a lot of guys out there who aren't going to get drafted who could be solid grinders for you at the position. And yes, maybe a guy like that would be a replacement for Swaim, but I think it's not a bad idea to have some kind of, just like the receiver room. I mean, if Chig Okonkwo is your veteran, I don't know if that's what you want right now.
Hey, I'm just saying, like, I think Tennessee's pro day is like sometime next week. Just get Princeton Fan out there, line him up at tight end, line him up at fullback. He can throw the ball around a little bit too. I blasted Austin Hooper and Princeton Fan basically within the same week of each other last year, and then they just both took off. So maybe Princeton Fan's your answer there.
Hey, man. Yes, you got them both going. You lit a fire under both. Princeton, he's a great example. He's got the size. I mean, he's played at a high level in the SEC. He wouldn't be a terrible option in all seriousness. as a depth guy in your room.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the Titans for that. We went through like the free agent tight ends out there earlier. I mean, there's not a lot of great options still out there at tight end. I mean, you've got like your Kyle Rudolphs of the world that are still out there right now, but there's not a ton of tight ends that are still out there. I'm interested to see what the financial part of this looks like when it comes to Hooper and his deal with the Raiders. It's a 1-year deal, so I mean, it's not going to be anything that's breaking the bank there at that point. But I'm interested to see what that part of it looks like as we go through the rest of free agency here. And if you're the Titans, you mentioned it, the draft, they say, is deep at tight end. Do you want a veteran coming back? We can bring up Jeff Swaim. We had a lot of comments about Jeff Swaim earlier on the text line. Every time you bring him up, people get really mad. Really mad.
Good. Get mad. I'm going to keep doing it, man. I'm going to have a Jeff Swaim segment every. That's actually the replaces the Rex rant. Whenever I rant, it'll just be about how underrated Jeff Swaim is.
A lot of things can change on the Tennessee Titans front, but the tight end screen to Jeff Swaim lives on next year, hopefully, as Tim Kelly steps into the offensive coordinator role.
Ricky says, rather have Brait or Rudolph over Swaim any day, let's be real. Well, both of those guys have been much better receiving tight ends than Jeff Swaim. So how much do they have left? I mean, Rudolph's been around, man. I don't know their ages off the top of my head, but Rudolph's been around.
Well, I mean, look, Cameron Brait played 11 games last year, had 20 catches for 174 yards playing with Tom Brady. I mean,
yeah, he's seen his better days too. I mean, that's the thing. It's just, I mean, it's kind of crazy how I feel like several positions in free agency this year are just bad.
It really, like, I forget who had this report, but somebody talked to like some unnamed NFL coach or executive, and the quote was, "Yeah, this free agency class sucks." That was the quote. And it's like, and they listed out, I guess, a couple of reasons for it, with the salary cap going up and people, like handling their free agents 1 year sooner than they normally do. Like it's lined up this way where the free agency class is just horrible this year.
This year's overall free agents equals last year's quarterback class.
Pretty much. That's how it pretty much has gone. Coming up next, it's time for Pred's Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. If you guess a goal scorer for the Predators tonight, you'll win a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
Be the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
The Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair is going on now. Hurry in and save up to 50% on anything in the store. It's first come, first serve. The Electronic Express Famous Half Price Fair going on now.
Drowning in IRS debt? If you can't afford to pay your IRS debt due to economic hardship, you can now be free of IRS collection efforts by taking advantage of a special IRS tax hardship program. This program allows Americans who owe the IRS to resolve their delinquent tax debt once and for all. In some cases, maybe even reducing what you owe significantly. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Simply dial 800-241-5944. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back or have years of unfiled tax returns, help is standing by. Just call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-241-5944 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-241-5944 to see if you qualify. That's 800-241-5944.
He's got big takes.
It's not that freaking hard. Hand the ball to Henry.
Small takes.
You have to defend your decision.
But all takes.
They win. They just invested a lot into this game. I thought it was the worst press conference.
He is Jared Stillman.
I guess I'm just not a very good coach, Jared.
Weekdays from 2 to 6. Stillman and Company. Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. It's time for Preds picks to click.
And a shot at the score.
Do you think you know who will score a goal in tonight's Predators game?
Little give and go.
Shoot your shot for a chance to win Preds tickets. Call 615-737-1025 now. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are preferred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today. It's Pick to Click, now on Robby and Rexrode.
And it is that time of the day, time for Preds Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. The Preds back in action tonight at Bridgestone Arena, taking on the Seattle Kraken. Puck drop at 7 o'clock, pregame at 6 o'clock here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. A couple of changes in the standings. I scored again, or I guess I didn't score. Luke Evangelista scored, and the listeners' pick, Tommy Novak, scored last time out. So the standings are as followed. I'm in first place with 16 correct answers. The listeners in second with 13. Joe with 11 correct answers, and Michelle with 7. Following that up there. With that in mind, let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Caleb. Caleb, good morning. Thanks for calling in. Who is your pick to click for the Nashville Predators tonight?
Hey, good morning, guys. I am going to take Luke Evangelista. Hopefully he can carry his momentum and build a little confidence off that 2-goal game and give me some tickets.
There we go, Caleb. Appreciate you calling in. Luke Evangelista, the selection from Caleb. So Evangelista is off the board. Joe Rexrode, you're up next. Your pick to click tonight for the Nashville Predators.
L.A. Tolvanen. Oh, shoot.
Wow.
Oh, my bad. Oh, sorry about that.
Wow, you've been waiting on that one all day, haven't you?
Oh, boy. You know, that comedic timing. Let me see here. Now I actually have to think about it. It's like, ooh.
I mean, they just scored 7. You ought to be able to pick somebody.
I know. Go Tommy Novak.
Going Tommy Novak, the selection. So Evangelista and Novak off the board. Michelle Knezovic, your pick to click for the Nashville Predators with Evangelista and Novak being selected.
Well, I was going to pick Tommy Novak. I didn't pick him last time because I tried to go off the board with Colton Sissons, and Matt Duchene had a pretty good game. So I'm going to go Matt Duchene tonight.
Going Matt Duchene tonight against the Seattle Kraken. This one is interesting to me. You know what? I'm going to do it, and I'm going to say it happens tonight. Give me Igor Afanasyev to score his first goal tonight. I'll go with Igor tonight against the Kraken. So Evangelista, Novak, Duchene, and Afanasyev, the selections in Preds Pick to Click, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. Preds in action tonight. We talked to John Hines earlier. Roman Josi still day-to-day. He did say that Parsonen, Carrier, and Forsberg, not day-to-day. That was the phrase that John Hines used. So doesn't look like any of those three are close to coming back. Josi still day-to-day, and we'll see what happens on that front. But the Preds in action tonight, taking on the Seattle Kraken. Joe, you are live in New York City in preparation for Tennessee and FAU tonight in the Sweet 16. The Vols favored in this game. Depending on what sportsbook you look at, it's 4.5, 5 points, anywhere kind of in that range. What do you make of this matchup tonight for Tennessee as they try to advance to their second Elite Eight in the history of their program? A tremendous opportunity tonight for Rick Barnes and the Vols.
Yeah, well, first of all, if you get Afanasiev tonight, I quit. So I want that out there.
Same.
I want that official.
Just
Yeah,
going
we're
off
done.
the board.
I'm just saying. Yeah, well, I said this earlier on the show, but Tennessee fan, if you're a Tennessee fan who hasn't watched a lot of Florida Atlantic this year, and I'm guessing there are a few, if anybody watched the UAB Vandy game last night, UAB really impressive to me, winning at Vanderbilt, ending Vanderbilt's season short of the NIT semifinals. Fast, incredible ability to cover ground on defense, some size, just a really good. I mean, they're like 27-9. Well, that team split with FAU and beat FAU pretty soundly at home, lost to them in a really close game on the road. Point being, think about how Vanderbilt and Tennessee were playing, and we go to the SEC tournament just the end of the year. I'd say they were a pretty comparable team. So all of which is to say Florida Atlantic is absolutely good enough to beat Tennessee tonight. Like anybody who's like, I'm sure, and I know I heard Jared on Jared versus Joe, Big L for Jared. It's just a cakewalk. Yeah, because he hasn't watched a second of FAU basketball, and because it's just a brand name thing. That's a foolish way to look at this game. It's a good matchup, and Tennessee is going to have all it can handle with a bunch of guards, a bunch of shooters, guys who move the ball extremely well. They don't have a huge glaring issue if you look at their resume in terms of metrics. They got the 7-footer, Vladislav Golden, and that'll be interesting. Is that probably a Plavsic matchup earlier. I think it may be a Jonas Adu matchup for more of the game, but we'll see. They've got a really good all-around team, and I think it's going to be a heck of a game tonight.
I do too, and it's a heck of an opportunity for this Tennessee team. And if you can get this win, you're going to the Elite Eight. You'll take on the winner of Michigan State, Kansas State, which, by the way, that game happens before the Tennessee game tonight. So you'll know what the potential matchup would be before the FAU-Tennessee game takes place tonight. Olivier Kamwa, 27 points the last time out, 10 of 13 from the field. Interested to see how he responds tonight. And, Joe, we talked about this a little bit earlier. A lot of Tennessee fans concerned about the officiating. Is there going to be some quick whistles tonight based on some comments that have been made and the narrative around the Tennessee basketball program this week of whether or not they're too physical or dirty or whatever words you want to use? What do you make of the officiating storyline heading into this one?
Yeah, this is rant worthy. This whole thing. It's just, it really comes down to like Plavsic hip checked a dude, a freshman, and then Adu totally inadvertently grabbed a rebound and his pointy elbow cut him. And it was a good physical defensive game. And also the Vols did contribute with their whole, we brought him in the mud. You know, it was like Bane, like, I was born in it, But, I'm looking, like Teresa tweeted out an AP story from New York. Or I guess it was from Knoxville, and it's, the headline is March Madness allows Vols to showcase SEC's rugged style.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, was the SEC this year like this just grinded out conference? Look, Tennessee did play such good defense that like Alabama scored 58, right? Auburn scored they scored 43 in a game. So low scoring, great defense. Yeah, rugged, sure. But all of a sudden, like, everybody's going wild with the Vols are just out there crushing people left and right. And I'm like, no, they're long, they're athletic, they communicate, they play great, they pressure in spots. They have this system that goes back to the Seattle Supersonics of the 90s, devised by Bob Kloppenberg, and it's really fascinating. It's really good stuff. It is not, playing hockey or football out there, but, that's all it takes. Couple things like that, and then you get the FAU coach talking about Australian rugby, and here we are. Bunch of questions at the presser yesterday about all that stuff, and one FAU player talks about how they play dirty sometimes. It's just like, okay, let's let this narrative just go wild.
It's going to be interesting. I'm just saying, if there's a hand check or a ticky-tack foul tonight within like the first 2 minutes of the game and it goes against Tennessee, I'm just going to lean back and I'm just going to open up the Twitter app and I'm just going to let Vol Twitter do its thing. I'm just going to sit back and watch because it's going to be wild if that happens tonight, Joe. I'm looking forward to it.
Vol Twitter is ready for that. You can count on that, man. And Vol Twitter, that's the thing. You think about a win of any sort tonight, you are to a place you've been one time in your history.
Yeah.
A loss tonight, it's like, think about this swing of emotion there for Vols fans, where it's like that Duke win is just, to me, like did a 180 for a lot of people on this team.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's like you're back to feeling about them maybe how you did after they beat Texas. Like, holy crap, this team could do something. So then you have that for a few days and then lose to Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic's good, but if you lose to Florida Atlantic, it'll still be it will be very much lamented and cried about and screamed about that you have this opportunity and you couldn't beat Florida Atlantic.
No question about it. Looking forward to the game coming up tonight. Joe Rexrode going to be there live and in person at Madison Square Garden, so looking forward to that. Joe, some quick breaking news on the NFL front. This coming from Ian Rappaport. The Chicago Bears are signing former Titans linebacker and special teamer Dylan Cole. So Dylan Cole to the Chicago Bears, who are quickly becoming like the Chicago Titans. Nate Davis going over there, Dylan Cole going over there, and the Titans bringing in Luke Gifford. So I guess there's your replacement for Dylan Cole.
The Bears think it's like 1987. I think they have like 19 linebackers on their roster now.
Yeah, they're really getting after it.
Good stuff. Ryan from Chicago must be very excited about this one. Congrats.
They must be. So congratulations to Dylan Cole for joining the Chicago Bears, who are spending an astronomical amount of money in a very suspect free agent class. But, hey, I do like the DJ Moore move, so congratulations to the Bears for that.
I do like that, too. I will say that. Real quick on hoops, another thing to bring out, because I'm reading Gentry S's, North Texas, too. If anybody watched them in the NIT at Oklahoma State the other night, really impressive. Conference USA and MTSU was good this year, too.
Pretty good.
Don't sleep on them, man. It's the top of that league is really good this year.
It's going to be very interesting tonight at Madison Square Garden. Looking forward to that. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Kraken as well. So we'll have a busy day here tomorrow on the show, including getting Joe's reaction fresh off 2 hours of sleep as Tennessee takes on FAU tonight. That does it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. Junie and Michelle coming up next. Not Chase and Michelle, or I guess I should say Michelle and Junie, since that's what the name of our actual show is called. We'll have that coming up next.